Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the public. Good afternoon, counselors, to our administration and our guests. This is the 26th meeting of the 24th Council, and it will come to order. We have Counselor Benton, who will join us a little bit late, and Counselor Harris is excused this evening. All other counselors are present via Zoom. I would like to start the meeting with a moment of silence, and I would like to offer that moment of silence to Black History Month, which is February. And since today is February 1st, I would offer that for injustices in the past and during this History Month. I hope that we all take a moment to understand some of the plights that they have endured. Thank you, counselors. Thank you to the public. We will start our meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask Counselor Jones if she would lead us in that pledge.
Thank you, I would. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Counselor Jones. I'll read it in Spanish. Juramente a la bandera, juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Thank you, Counselor. So I'm just going to read into the record some information for the public. As was noted in the press release from our office on Friday, posted on our website and noticed on our published council agenda, this meeting has special procedures given the governor's declaration of a public health emergency and restrictions on gatherings. Therefore, this meeting is being held via Zoom video conference. Members of the public, city staff, and the media have the ability to view this meeting live through 4 different platforms: GOV TV on Comcast, Channel 16, the Gov channel, website, YouTube, and Zoom webinar. These live streams can be accessed from most smartphones, tablets, or computers. For those watching on the live stream, thank you for joining us this evening. The video recording of this and all past council meetings will also remain available for viewing at any time on the City Council's website. Council staff is available via telephone if members of the public need assistance in finding the video online. Please call 768-3100 for assistance during business hours, which are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The council is accepting live general public comment today, as well as any written comments. Written comments received by 1 p.m. were distributed to all counselors in advance of today's meeting. So we will move on to our proclamations and presentation. And Counselor Gibson, I believe you have a proclamation.
Yes, Madam President. This is not a proclamation, but we did schedule a presentation for today's meeting. This is an Energy Council presentation, and I'm wondering if we have, I see Ms. Miller. Yes, we have the presenters with us now. Alex Montano, who is the current chair of AEC, and this is the Albuquerque Energy Council, and Amy Miller, who is the former chair. So I'll turn it over to them so that they may present this annual report that I did read, and I found it very readable and really quite informative. So I'm eager to hear the presentation. Go ahead, Mr. Montano, Ms. Miller.
Yes, can everybody hear me okay? Perfect. Okay, good afternoon, and thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to come in today and just provide a brief update on the annual report from the Albuquerque Energy Council, and even just a small refresher for those who are maybe less familiar with what the Energy Council is responsible for. So we're going to be very, very brief. Presenting alongside me today will be Amy Miller, who is an acting member on the council as well. She was serving as the chair of the council at the time that this report was written. I am the newly appointed chair serving now. So we decided to tackle this together and try to do a better job than separately. So we're going to jump right in. So next slide, please. So a quick recap. So what is the mission and the purpose of the Energy Council? So the mission is champions of Albuquerque's quality of life, promoting cost-effective, innovative resource management, energy education, and community involvement. The council was initially established in 1977 to serve the public welfare by developing and implementing a community-wide effort to conserve energy and reduce the use of fossil fuels in the production of energy and overall promote best energy practices. So pretty broad. And if you go into the duties and responsibilities, it even dives deeper than that. But we're just going to highlight a few things. Next slide, please. So the current acting members, the AEC is comprised of 9 individuals from the community, primarily in the energy efficiency, renewable energy, sustainability industries. These are people that are very passionate about these topics and the fight against climate change. And so they volunteer their time every month to come together and help to set some direction or at least some guidance for the city the best we can, the best we can support the city in these efforts. So there's your list there's actually 8 shown there. We have a current vacancy looking to fill soon, hopefully. But again, just a little recognition for those who are taking their time to participate in this council. Next slide, please. So one very important responsibility or duty that the council provides is some level of oversight, not necessarily oversight, but some guidance and recommendations on how the capital improvement program 3% set aside funds are utilized. So in 2003, this source of funding was created. So in the capital improvement program, 1% of the money was set aside specifically for energy conservation and renewable energy projects. That amount was increased in 2006 to 3%. There has not been an increase since. It's still at that 3% level today. These funds are set aside every 2 years. And as the ordinance is written, the Committee of Technical Staff, along with the consultation of the AEC, shall approve expenditures for the 3% energy conservation and renewable energy set aside. So we do the best we can, and you'll kind of see on this next slide here. Next slide, please. When the council is presented a project from one of the City of Albuquerque's departments, it goes to the Department of Municipal Development for initial review. If it meets the criteria to come in front of the Albuquerque Energy Council, the council then reviews those projects based on these criteria here, which are reasonable cost, level of energy savings that are achievable and that can be sustained over some length of time, the financial benefit of the project, return on investment, particularly the leveraging of additional funding resources other than just what's coming out of the capital improvement plan. I think that's important. How much of it is coming in the form of incentives or grants or outside sources of funding to really expand the impact from these projects, right? That's a very critical thing we look at. What is the environmental impact and reduction to carbon emissions for the city? What's the proposed approach, the timeline for the project, and the practicality of it? Like how impactful is that project going to be long term? And then the last one, which is if not the most important, and it aligns with the mission, is what is the project's opportunity for public education, outreach, and awareness? You know, how is the public seeing that these funds are being used in a responsible way that meets the AEC's mission and supports the city of Albuquerque's overall objectives for climate change, and which we have some pretty broad ones, right? We have some very aggressive ones as a city, which is great. That's what we want to see. So next slide, please. And so I'm going to hand it over to Amy to talk about specifically some of the work that has been done over the last 2 years.
Thank you, Alex, and good afternoon, Madam President and council members. Thank you for having us and putting us at the top of your agenda today. As Alex mentioned, we have a team that meets every month with Saif Ismail, who presents us different projects, gives us updates, allows us to really think through what can the city be doing to increase the efficiency of its buildings, to protect the environment, and ultimately benefit taxpayers, right? Because we're saving money. We're allowing funds that were going toward energy expenses to go toward other important things that the city is doing for its citizens. So these are just a few of the summary numbers that you'll find in the report. You know, since the program's inception, about $168 million has been spent on projects. 207 million kilowatt hours, which is how electricity is measured, and more than 14 million BTU, which is how natural gas is measured. But this is the important number, $25 million in annual savings in energy operations and maintenance costs. And then you'll see the metric tons of carbon emissions reduced. So again, saving money and protecting the environment is what this council and the city employees that work with the council, that's what our work is about. Next slide. In the report that you have, if you all had a chance to look at it, we did not go through all the projects, else it would be a 60-page report, and we know that people appreciate brevity these days. But we highlighted a few of the ones that we thought were very worthy of looking at. One was the Manzano Mesa Multi-Generational Center, was an indoor and outdoor lighting project. The potential annual savings for this project was almost $11,000. And if you have been in the Multi-Generation Center since this work has been done, the difference, this isn't just about energy savings, the quality of light is so improved in that facility. And that's one of the things that city staff really tries to focus on, is improving the environment for city employees and the citizens who enjoy these different facilities. And you can definitely see it in the Manzano Mesa Center. The Lomas Tramway Library also went with a replacement of interior and exterior lighting with an annual savings of over $28,000. And then there are two other projects on the next slide. The Chemo Theater, which was completed last May, and the Pino Yards Building and Warehouse. And the Chemo Theater, we hope that times will change and the public will once again be able to enjoy what this new lighting looks like. They added LED fixtures, new lighting controls, again, a large savings, and then as well as the Pino Yards Building and Warehouse was also lighting. One of the things I wanted to point out, even though these four projects that we're highlighting were all about lighting, and lighting is very important when you're trying to save energy, that doesn't mean that all the projects over the years have been focused on lighting. Some have been on HVAC. We just went through a process of reviewing a proposal to do mini energy audits on multiple city facilities. There have been a solar project on the Sandia High School pool that was approved by the council. And so it's really a variety of different things where, like Alex said, we're looking at the cost, the impact around energy savings, what works for that facility. Next slide. that's it. I think one of the things I wanted to mention, also Sanders Moore, who just left the council, was part of this team putting this report together. Another one of the great things that this small team has done from the council has put together a new, more efficient process for evaluating these projects. So we are looking at cost and return on investment and making sure the city is leveraging rebates from the gas company or PNM. And Alex and others have been very instrumental in really redoing and formalizing this process to make it even better, knowing that there is just still so much future potential for the city to be saving energy. One of our focuses for the future is going to be public education, because the city's doing all this great work and a lot of people don't know about it, right? So our last meeting, we talked about for the Tramway Library, maybe having some educational materials, both for kids and adults, to see what has happened at that library, how it has saved energy, and how we can encourage then homeowners, commercial building owners to take some of these same actions within our city. Alex, would you like to add anything else?
No, other than just thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. The council, the work that we do, we feel is very meaningful, and city staff is fantastic. The team that supports council with SAFE and Sydney right now, and the sustainability office is wonderful. So thank you everyone, and we look forward to coming back in front of you in a year with the next report and updates.
Thank you, Mr. Montano, and thank you to Amy Miller, who I went to grad school with, by the way.
Just a few years ago.
Questions from any of the counselors? Counselor Benton, who's joined us. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for coming in late on this very important presentation, but thanks for putting it right up front, Madam President. And I just want to give my thanks to Amy and Alex and everyone on the council who volunteers their time. And this is obviously a big year, I think, for the city and the nation as we try to get a grip on where we're going and with regards to climate change. And you know, they're predicting today that we may be looking at a drought on the scale of the 1950s in Albuquerque. And you know, that's not an energy issue, but we know it is all tied together with water and how we've got to maintain the city as a sustainable place. So I really appreciate your service. I wanted to ask a question for either of you, and that's with the role of heating, ventilating, and air conditioning, knowing that we want to make it more efficient, but more importantly, the air changes per hour, the fresh air need that now is so clearly evident in with the pandemic going on, the need for healthy yet sustainable and low energy cost air changing in buildings. And you know, any thoughts on that, or is that the type of more broad issue that the council looks at? And you know, obviously with a focus on city buildings, I meant to say, in the city building stock.
I think it's a great question. Amy, do you mind? I'll take a first stab and then you
do.
pepper in. Yeah. So, you know, I would say, you know, when we talk about air changes and indoor air quality and increasing the amount of ventilation, that obviously is going to have a negative effect on energy, right? The more outside air we bring in, the more we have to treat that outside air through heating or cooling or whatever the source may be. So there's an energy penalty for that. However, that does not replace the importance of healthy indoor environments for our occupants, both staff and the public. So you have to tackle it from both sides. You have to make sure that you are addressing those ventilation needs and indoor air quality needs while optimizing the performance of your system to make sure that those penalties are either negated altogether or minimized or minimizing their impact. And luckily, luckily there's lots of technologies out there to help with this. You know, hospitals have been deploying technologies for decades to keep their indoor air as safe as possible, and other type facilities. Those technologies are now going to start trickling into the normal office building where they didn't exist before, or schools, or whatever the case may be. So the bright side is technology exists, solutions exist. The downside is you have to make sure you account for energy and optimization at the same times. Otherwise, it's gonna hit your pocketbook, your operating budgets. If you just go out there and start slapping in technologies and turning on your ventilation all the way up and expecting things to just be okay, you're going to get a shocker when your bills come. And that's part of, you know, council can help with some of those conversations. You know, council's an interesting mix of people with technical backgrounds like myself, and then people with more policy backgrounds like Amy, but we come together and we put together really good ideas. And that's the nice thing about having a mix of folks that serve on this council for the city.
Yeah, I mean, the city and the council and the mayor recently updated our energy codes, and I think, you know, that was a really important step. You know, we kind of got out in front of it. A lot of cities had already adopted that code, but we got on the front wave of it, let's say. And so now you know, we continue to evolve that, and there's nothing to prevent us from requiring a higher standard in City of Albuquerque buildings, and even in the city code for health purposes, to require better ventilation. And of course, as you say, it can be expensive, or if it's well designed, it doesn't have to be that expensive. And we have heat recovery ventilators, things like that recover the existing heat on its way out. Correct. To be exchanged to colder air or warmer, depending on the season. So all good stuff. Yeah, I think, you know, really appreciate what you guys are doing, and it's an important report, and appreciate I appreciate keeping this issue in the forefront of ourselves and our fellow citizens. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Benton. I will move on to Councilor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam President. I also want to thank you for this presentation. I'm sorry it's taken us a little while longer than we wanted to have this, but I wanted to draw one conclusion that I saw when you were presenting, is that we've made good time of our downtime due to the COVID shutdown. So instead of having to divert visitors, you know, around certain places around the chemo, for example, we were able to just get in there and get it done. And I'm sure that there was some cost savings to that. The other thing that I noticed when I was reading the report is I was quite pleasantly surprised about the short time of recouping costs, the return on the investment. And it's somewhere you looked at, I don't know, I think it was the projects that you talked about today. And they're somewhere between 4.5 and 5.5 years, which is a really incredibly short period of time to recoup those costs that the city has put in. So the savings comes right after that. It's all gravy, as they say. So thank you again for being here tonight. And I really appreciate the work that you're doing in helping the city to identify good projects and maybe even improve the projects that we do have. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gibson. Any other councilors? I would just like to mention to both Mr. Montano and Ms. Miller that the council passed at our last meeting a memorial that was sent to the legislature regarding climate change and asking the state to look at policies regarding climate change. So you might want to take a look at that memorial. I don't have the number in front of me, but if you call my office, we can get you that number. We appreciate you and the work that your council is doing, and we look forward to continued collaboration with you. And with that, thank you very much. It's great to see you, Amy.
Thank you, counselors. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so we will move on to other business. And under other business, counselors, I had a request from two of our counselors to switch committees. And I'm fine with that but I do need a vote because we took a vote on those appointments at our last committee. Counselor Sena would like to switch with Counselor Benton, the Public Safety Committee and the Negotiations Committee. So unless counselors have a question regarding that, I would need a motion to approve that change.
Madam President, I'll move approval of item A, the committee appointments.
Thank you, Counselor Gibson. Counselor Bassan, looks like that's a second. Thank you, counselors. Any other discussion? If not, then I need, all in favor, please signify, Crystal, sorry.
Thank you, Madam President. Counselor Bassan,
Yes.
Counselor Benton,
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Thank you, Counselor Gibson.
Yes.
Counselor Harris is excused. Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
Yes.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Borrego,
Yes,
8-0.
thank you, counselors. That motion passes and we will make that change. So we will move on to item, let's see, item general public comments is our next item. And just for the record, I need to read this into the record. I don't believe we have anybody signed up to speak, but I will still read this information into the record. As was stated earlier, live public comment is being taken today, and we do not have any folks signed up to speak tonight. Oh, we do? I'm sorry, we do have some folks signed up to speak. But again, we also received written comments that were distributed to the counselors in advance of today's meeting. Members of the public will be able to address the council if they have signed up for live public comment per the rules published on the agenda and on our website on Friday. Members of the public will be moved from the Zoom waiting room into the meeting room once we begin public comment, and Julian Moya will take care of allowing you in. They will remain muted until they are called upon to speak, at which point they will have 1.5 minutes to provide comments to the council. After that, they will again be muted. Will our Zoom moderator, Mr. Moya, please move those members into the Zoom room, and we will allow those individuals who signed up to speak their time. And if you are joining us, to provide live public comment, if you are watching the live feed for this meeting, please mute or turn off your system at this time. Here are the public comment ground rules. Each participant has 1.5 minutes to present. Comments are to be addressed to the counselors only through the council president. Any disruptive conduct will result in removal from the Zoom meeting room. There will be a 1.5 minute time limit. The timer will start once you begin speaking, then the Zoom moderator, Mr. Moya, will let you know when your time is up. So, Mr. Moya, would you like to call those individuals up?
Thank you, Madam President. Our first speaker will be David Tartaglia, followed by Michael Hook. Mr. Tartaglia, please feel free to turn your video, unmute yourself, and your 1.5 minutes will begin when you start speaking.
I don't think I have any comment right now. I'm just here for the Willowwood vacation of right-of-way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker will be Michael Hawk. Please unmute yourself. All right, so you got your video on. And you'll be followed by Miss Rose Doyle. Mr. Hawk, your 1.5 minutes will begin when you start speaking.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I wanted to speak to the Tony Sanchez vacation of right-of-way, which you will deal with later. I'm a resident on Tony Sanchez Drive. as an orientation, Tony Sanchez Drive is a north-south residential road in the Willowwood community. It parallels Wantabo and Eubank and is perpendicular to Central. The analysis and reports that have been submitted to the Development Review Board deal with things other than traffic safety and resident safety in a residential community. As an anecdotal example of an incident on Tony Sanchez, I think reflects this, and I offer it for your consideration along with all the policy and other things that are included in the reports that have been submitted to you. And this is an example of a perfect storm about to happen. Next door to me, a student at Highland High School is backing out of the driveway of the residence. Two cars that are cutting through Willowwood on their way to Sandia stop and allow her to back out and travel south on Tony Sanchez. A third car in the line that has come around the street turning south on Tony Sanchez begins to pass the two waiting cars that are allowing her to back out and begin to pass her as she accelerates to go forward. She
Thank you, sir.
swerves.
Your time is up. Sorry about that. Thank you. Our next speaker
Madam
is
President?
Rose Doyle.
Julian, we have Councilor Bassan would like to address the council. Go ahead, Councilor Bassan.
Thank you, Madam President. I really would like to hear the rest of that story, please.
Thank you,
Mr.
sir. You may proceed.
Thank you, Counselor. As the student accelerates and proceeds south, the third car that was in line passing her swerves as she swerves to the left. There is also at this time a resident that lives across the street coming out of his driveway on his bicycle. He works at Sandia. And so you have a teenager driving to school, a car passing three other cars on Tony Sanchez going south, and a bicycle rider coming down the driveway. The perfect storm about to happen as all three of these vehicles converge on Tony Sanchez going south. Luckily, no accident occurred. The bike rider with an 8-month-old son was able to stop in the driveway before he entered the roadway. The vehicle that had pulled out to pass continued on down the road, passing the three vehicles and moving through the stop sign with not a full stop, moving on to wherever he was going in the Sandia Park, Technology Park, or at Sandia. This is an example of what occurs not to this severe degree, but to a degree within the community with the cut through traffic exceeding the speed limit and showing a disregard for the risks and for the others that live in the neighborhood and for the other traffic that is cutting through the neighborhood. I would like you to consider traffic safety, resident safety, with the other information that's provided you technically regarding the vacation of the right-of-way and allowing the community of Willowwood to assume the property from the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Rose Doyle, followed by Charles Buck. Ms. Doyle, your 1.5 minutes will begin when you start speaking.
My name is Rose Doyle. Kenneth Benjamin Reese was killed by APD on August 11th, 2020. He is my son's father. Can you imagine being treated with no humanity by the police department in your hometown? Can you imagine sitting down with detectives less than 12 hours after you found out your father was killed by the police and told that your father probably committed suicide by cop and no one had invaded their home? And when you said there was no way that could have happened and he would have done that, you were told you were wrong. The police told us we were wrong. Can you imagine being told that the officers involved had rights and those officers needed to be respected? In that moment, can you imagine what that was like? That's how my son was treated by APD. Those officers were afforded 2 weeks before they were interviewed by detectives. 2 whole weeks to think about what had happened and get their story straight. APD did not attempt to identify the man they shot that night. He was listed as a John Doe at the hospital and at the OMI. APD had access to his wallet and every single ID he'd received for the last 20 years. No attempt was made to notify our family. After reporting him missing, we received a call from APD at 9 p.m. on August 11th, over 20 hours after he had died, 12 hours after they had concluded their search of his apartment. APD needs reform and training. The city needs to take a hard look in the mirror and start treating its citizens like human beings and admitting mistakes and truly working to correct them. APD has to stop blaming the victims of things that happen under their watch. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doyle. Our next speaker is Charles Buck, followed by Jonathan Hollinger. Mr. Buck, please feel free to turn on video, unmute yourself, and your 1.5 minutes will begin when you start speaking.
Yes, this is Charles Buck. I'm wanting to voice my opinion on the gate, getting the where we can get the gate built on Gibson and Tony Sanchez Drive Southeast. On our street get hit just January 5th of this year. The cut through traffic is horrendous on our street. And we need to have a gate put up in that spot so that we can cut down on the cut-through traffic. There's other individuals that'll be speaking later on this, but the cut-through traffic in our area has gotten really bad. And the only solution that we have now that I think is to get the land vacated from the city. So that we can build our gate and close that access off so that we can have more safety on that street and in our neighborhood as well. We listened to the proposals on some other avenues in the Volterra area, some alternatives. There was 3 roads that they suggested that we could probably get built, but they're not going to give us $36 million to build that. So the easiest and the cheapest way for us to get rid of the cut through traffic and the speeding on our street is to build the gate, and we need that land vacated so we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Jonathan Hollinger, followed by Alan Lay. Mr. Hollinger, please feel free to turn your video, unmute yourself, and your 1.5 minutes will begin when you start speaking.
Dear Madam President and District Councilors, thank you for your time. My name is Jonathan Hollinger, and I'm the president of Willowwood. I'm here to speak in favor of item 13B. I've been the president of Willowwood since 2014. I was originally elected as president to help mitigate crime and traffic concerns in the neighborhood. Early on, it became apparent that Willowwood had a severe traffic issue and residents were concerned about it. In 2015, Willowwood formed a multi-member committee to derive possible solutions to the traffic concerns. The committee determined that a vacation of right-of-way at the intersection of Tony Sanchez and Jewel Cave was the most feasible option. In 2016, Willowwood published a petition to determine the neighborhood's support. The petition was advertised at National Night Out as well as online. The petition grew in popularity and was recognized by KRQE News. I was interviewed by a local newscaster, and I was able to further publicize our growing concerns as well as the petition. It was evident that the neighborhood supported the vacation. In 2019, Consensus Planning was hired to help Willowwood navigate through the formal application process for the vacation of right-of-way. Since that time, the city of Albuquerque conducted a traffic study under the NTMP and found that approximately 60% of the traffic flowing through Willowwood was cut through. The vehicles are non-Willowwood residents traveling from the Kirtland Air Force Base to the Tech Park. This number is alarming and greater than the acceptable standards set forth by the Traffic Engineering Department. This information was explained to the Willowwood residents by Tim Brown at our 2019 annual meeting. In addition, the Wantabo Hills Connectivity Study revealed that additional avenues of ingress and egress are needed for the Wantabo Hills community, which is located to the south of Willowwood, and their traffic problems are spilling into our community. A recent study conducted by Consensus Planning revealed that 86% of Willowwood residents believe that cut-through traffic is a problem, and 74% of those residents are in favor of either vacation of right-of-way and/or additional traffic calming measures. Lastly, on January 5th, a resident was hospitalized after a moving vehicle struck him on Tony Sanchez Drive. A police report was filed, case number 21-000-1312, and video footage revealed that the driver was at fault. This further demonstrates how dangerous our problem has become. We've been patient and persistent in the name of safety, and I've dedicated the last 7 years of my life to helping our community, and I urge you to recognize our growing concerns and our determination in this matter. I ask for your support in item 13B, OC-21-25. I thank you for your time and for allowing me to speak before you today, and I stand for any questions if necessary.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Alan Lay. Please feel free to turn your video back on. Mute yourself, and your 1.5 minutes will begin when you start speaking.
Okay, thank you, Madam President and council members, for taking the time to listen to me. My name is Alan Bansley, and I live at 11607 Herman Roser Avenue. I'm speaking today in favor of gating the Tony Sanchez entrance to Willowwood. I'm here because the volume of traffic, as well as the behavior of a significant portion of those drivers, poses a threat to my more senior neighbors and to children in the community. 3 of my nearest neighbors are in their late 70s or 80s and are at least partially physically disabled. They've expressed apprehension about crossing the street to collect their mail, and with good cause. We had an elderly resident on Tony Sanchez who was recently hit and seriously injured by a distracted driver. Every morning and evening, and often at lunchtime, I watch people using the speed hump in front of my house to recreate their favorite Dukes of Hazzard episode. At any hour of the day, I can watch drivers ignore our stop signs. An ignored stop sign was the final straw for me. Several years ago, I was running at about lunchtime. As I came up Gibson to Tony Sanchez while running in the bike lane, I saw a car blow right through the stop sign without even slowing down to look. At the same time, I saw a FedEx truck exit the mobile home park. The driver, realizing that he was about to T-bone a really big truck, bravely chose to point his car straight at me. Fortunately, I'm a tad quicker than I look, and I was able to get out of the way. One of my next door neighbors told me that she had to dive into the shrubs twice for the same sort of situation. Anyway, since I run in the neighborhood, I also have an opportunity to observe all the airplane-sized liquor bottles discarded by the side of the streets. Clearly, people purchase these bottles so that they can drink while cruising around without having an open bottle in their vehicle. This isn't the kind of traffic we want to encourage in our neighborhood. While I was shoveling snow from one of my invalid neighbor's driveways on the morning following our recent snowstorm, I observed a car traveling east on Herman Roser, which at that hour was still icy at a rate of speed that was clearly exceeding the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. And as he went by, I could see him holding his cell phone up in front of his face. Anyone crossing the street who couldn't run quickly over ice, good luck with this, would have been in serious difficulty. Several years ago, I created a video showing a constant stream of traffic, much of it not stopping at the stop sign at Tony Sanchez and Gibson. And I'd be happy to share this video with any interested parties. I can't email it to you because I think we'll block the attachment. In closing, I want to stress that while the current traffic volume is unacceptable, the behavior of many of the cut-through drivers is even worse. To them, Willowwood isn't a community, it's just a collection of roads that take them to and from work, and they use them with about the same level of respect that people give to a gas station restroom. But to our community, this is our home, and if someone came into your home and treated your bathroom the way they treat a gas station restroom, you probably wouldn't invite them back again. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam President, we had 4 others sign up to speak, but they did not join the meeting. So this will conclude general public comments.
Thank you, Julian. I'd like to read this into the record. All public comments have been taken this evening, and I apologize for not noticing that we did have speakers. Announce that all public commenters are being moved out of the Zoom meeting at this time, but can continue to watch the meeting on our Zoom webinar or the live feed on YouTube, Comcast Channel 16, or Gov Channel, or or our Gov channel online. So, counselors, we will proceed with our agenda. There are no economic development discussion items under number 4. So we would move on to number 5, administration's questions and answers. And I believe that we have one that I know of, which is a nonprofit, Mariah Harrison. Mr. Moya, do you have that person in the waiting room? Okay, you may proceed. Thank you for
Good afternoon, and thank you very much, Madam President and councilors. I appreciate your time. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, thank you so much. I'm just going to keep this brief. This is, in short, a report on how the city has partnered with nonprofit organizations over fiscal year 20 through contracts. The greatest number to celebrate right now is that the city provided over $64.5 million to over 250 organizations, nonprofit and community organizations over fiscal year 20. And so if we can move down to page 14, I'll show you that our number one department that we want to highlight, the Family and Community Services Department, works with over 78 organizations at a level of $52.6 million over that fiscal year. And you can see also that they work, they promote their work through 5 particular areas: behavioral health, housing stability, individual and family resilience, public safety, aging, and dignity. So we also have a project highlight for them on the very next page. If you'd scroll down just a little bit, this is the Albuquerque Street Connect discussion. And this is a collaboration between APD and UNM Health and a number of organizations, in particular, heading home to address behavioral health as well as housing stability. And this is through outreach with people that are high users of public services downtown. And it's a really incredible program that started in 2016. So that's just one example of how the city has utilized funds to support some social projects that are going on downtown with nonprofits. We're going to skip down to page 19. This next discussion is about what the Economic Development Department has been doing with nonprofits over fiscal year 20. You'll see that $7.7 million has been put into 40 different organizations. And I want to also point out that the Economic Development Department actually coordinates 75% of their contracts through nonprofits. The highlight that I want to point out on the very next page for that is through the International Development or Economic Development Center, and that is in the International District, specifically focusing on film and media. This is an incubator for people there that want to work in film and media or are also starting businesses in that area. They do workshops, they provide physical space, and the Economic Development Department from the city provided funding for them to continue their work. And so these are 2 examples of incredibly impactful organizations working with the city to create direct impact into our community across actually all districts. This report reflects work with all of those departments. And so there's more discussions, of course, on cultural services, senior affairs, animal welfare, environmental health. And I want you to know that there are some really great things to celebrate, and any information that you're also looking for and you want to dive into this report, that it's available online. It's under the Civic Engagement website under annual reports. So I think that's our high level discussion. I'm so glad to have some time with you today. Again, thank you very much, and I stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison. And I would point out that much of this work is done by volunteers. Any questions from any of our counselors? Counselor Davis?
Thank you, Madam President. And Ms. Harrison, it's so good to see you, and thank you for joining us. You may not know the answer to this question, but since you highlighted it, I want to put this marker there if you could help us or tell us. Part of the collaboration with getting money out into partnerships in the neighborhood in the last year has been in trying to spend the $2+ million or so that was allocated for homeless services 2 years ago and wasn't spent. And the Family and Community Services brought us a plan earlier this fall about how to do that, but I understand that that money still isn't flowing. Can you tell us the status of that project and those partnerships with the community organizations that stepped up to meet that housing need at our request?
Madam President.
Yeah, go ahead.
Madam President and Councilor Davis, this is Mike Pulley, and just want to respond to that. But before I do, I also want to thank the entire council. We know that the purpose of this report is to share with the community how much the partnerships with the council and your appropriations are working with organizations across the city. So first thing I wanted to do is just say thank you to all of you for working with us to get this money out for all these great causes and all these great partners. As far as the specifics about that particular contract, I think that might be something that Mariah can answer at a high level right now. We can circle back with you on the details.
Ms. Harrison, would you like to address that?
Thank you, Madam President. And unfortunately, Councilor Davis, at this time, I don't have any specific answers, but I do think that it's relevant to quite a high percentage of the nonprofits that we've worked with over fiscal year 20. So I'd be happy to get back to you on that.
Yeah, Madam President and Councilor Davis, we'll circle back.
Mike, thank you so much, and we appreciate it. If y'all could do that with us, I know the original plan was that those funds would be flowing in January. It's my understanding the contracts still aren't signed; they're just circulating for signatures, and we do have some folks that are lined up for housing. I just wonder if you could help us get an update. I would appreciate it, Madam President. It might not have to be at a meeting, but maybe we could just follow up offline. And thanks so much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of counselors? If not, then thank you, Ms. Harrison and Mr. Pooley, for that information.
I just wanted to mention that we are scheduled.
I would just mention that I was just informed that at our next meeting, we are scheduled for an update on the voucher program. So just let the counselors so they can be aware of that we will have that presentation. And are there any other questions of the administration at this time from counselors? I didn't receive anything ahead of time. So unless you have something else, we will move on. I don't see any one's hands raised, so we will move on. We will move on to our journal. Councilor Gibson, you have information on our journal.
I do have a motion. I move approval of the January 20th journal.
It looks like you have a second from Councilor Bassan and several other seconds. And so I need a vote on this. Crystal.
Councilor Bassan.
Yes.
Councilor Benton.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Gibson.
Yes.
Councilor Jones.
Yes.
Councilor Pena.
Yes.
Councilor Sena.
Yes.
Councilor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you. That motion passes. Thank you, Councilor Gibson. We will move on to communications and introductions. Are there any changes to the letter of introduction? And I will go to Councilor Pena.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the rules be suspended for the purpose of introducing R133 and referring it to the Public Safety Committee. R133 is commissioning an update to the 2014 Social Service Gap Analysis Study and adjusting fiscal year 2021 general fund appropriations to provide funding for that purpose.
And I have a second by Councilor Sena. It looks like we need a 2/3 vote of counselors present on this particular issue. Crystal.
Councilor Bassan.
Yes.
Councilor Benton.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Gibson.
Yes.
Councilor Jones.
Yes.
Councilor Pena.
Yes.
Councilor Sena.
Yes.
Councilor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
That motion passes on an 8-0 vote. So we will move on to the next order of business. Councilor Sena, would you like to present this?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. I move that the rules be suspended for the purpose of introducing R134 and referring it to the Finance and Government Operations Committee. R134 is establishing a priorities list for the City of Albuquerque's future open space land acquisitions, identifying immediate priorities and special provisions for certain properties.
And thank you, Councilor Sena. And I would also need 2/3 of our counselors present to vote on this in order for it to pass. Crystal.
Madam President, before we vote, could I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely. Councilor Davis.
Madam President, I just wanted to ask, I realize that this is for a late introduction and going to the FGO committee. It mentions some new priorities. I wonder if this list has gone through the Open Space Advisory Board before it's come to the City Council. I know normally these acquisitions aren't done by immediate action or by late intro without that referral.
Madam President and Councilor
Mr.
Davis.
Rael.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilor Davis, yes, that list that is before you in this resolution was approved by the Open Space Advisory Board on the 26th of January. And so we are now forwarding it to the council for your formal adoption.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate it. The text wasn't available earlier today, and Ms. Ortega just sent that to us as well. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Councilor Pena, you have a question as well?
To Councilor Davis's, I wasn't sure. I had received some calls from some of the members, and I don't think there's clarity on whether it had been or not. So just a little concerned with that.
Okay, Councilor Gibson and then Councilor Benton, and we can go back to the administration and they could maybe answer Councilor Pena's question.
So,
Mr. Rael, do you want to address that?
Madam Chair and councilors, and Councilor Pena in particular, if the question is whether or not the Open Space Advisory Board reviewed and met a formal meeting on this, the answer is yes. Again, they met on January the 26th and took up the projects and approved the projects that are in the resolution to move forward for you. And the vote was 5-0 from that from the board that afternoon. So this is why we are formally transmitting it to you all today.
Thank you, Mr. Rael. We will move. Councilor Pena, did you have any other questions?
No, I just wanted clarity because I had received communication that they had not. So I don't know. Obviously, we're going to have more time to find out what the breakdown of communication is. So thank you.
Councilor Gibson and then Councilor Benton. Councilor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is why this does not go before LUPS? It's clearly a land use. Why FGO versus land use planning and zoning?
This isn't zoning. This is.
Madam Chair and councilors, first and foremost, obviously, I think your staff makes the call on those, but this is not a land use decision as much as it is a procurement and a prioritization of land, of purchasing of land. But I will defer to Ms. Yara for her comments.
Ms. Yara.
Yes, Madam President and councilors. So traditionally, these priority for open space have gone to the Finance and Government Operations Committee because they do not relate to any kind of zoning issue. They are related to the Parks Department and acquisition of land, which is governed by a financial trust, which also gets heard at the FGO committee. So historically, these have gone to FGO committee.
Thank you, Ms. Yara. We'll move on to Councilor Benton.
Thank you, Madam President. As much as I hate to dispute Ms. Yara, I think the most recent significant changes to the open space ordinances and to the role of the advisory board were heard by the LUPS. We need to look at that and maybe confirm that. But as the sponsor of many of those amendments, I think what seems to be the case is that we need further direction from the council towards the open space system as to how we deal with such things. And there's absolutely no reason that this should be immediate action. And I do question the referral, and I think we should look back on the record with regard to the open space system and take a deep breath and then start to deal with what is proposed here.
Thank you, Counselor Benton. We're going to move on to Counselor Jones, and then I'm going to ask our council attorney to weigh in on this question. Counselor Jones?
Thank you, Madam President. Councillor Benton made a good point here. It is my understanding, having spoken with several people on the advisory board, that the board only voted on the pool property to be on the list. They did not vote to take the money from the trust fund. And I think this is the big issue here. This is not something that needs to be moving quickly when we're talking about this kind of money. The council needs to be responsible. We need to know what's really happening, what's going on. And of course, my number one question is this a taking of this property? Or has the owner entered into a purchase agreement? Are they willing to sell this property? This property's been in the news a lot, and there's a huge issue on it. I don't believe this is something that we should do this quickly without public comment and without our knowing exactly what is going on here. Moving too fast, too many questions, and I would not support this at this time.
Madam President.
Mr. Royale.
Madam President, members of the council, I just want to be really clear. It's a late introduction because we were trying to get the information from the Open Space Advisory Board on the council agenda as soon as possible. We are fine with it going through the normal course of business, whether it's at LUPS or whether it's at finance. The only requirement tonight is that you all give us authority to introduce it so that we can have the council conversation over the next month. So I just want to make sure that we're all clear about that. And then secondly, as it relates to the appropriation piece, that is the conversation to have with the council. As you all know, the decision to actually use city funds rests with the council and not with the Open Space Advisory Board. The conversation was had with the board about potentially utilizing the trust fund, but we also can have a conversation about the state appropriation that is also part of this package. So we were hoping to have that conversation in earnest with the council at the committee meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Royale. We have 3 counselors that are waiting to speak, but I would like to defer to Mr. Melendres. Maybe he can clarify some issues before we go back.
Sure, Madam President. The amendment that Councilor Benton is referring to, I have the enactment up, actually. It was, well, maybe I don't have it up, but in any event, a few years ago, the City Council amended the process through which open space property was added to the city's priority list. And in that process, the ordinance was changed such that the Open Space Advisory Board would make recommendations to the City Council for the City Council's final approval of those recommendations. And so the list used to be prepared by the Open Space Advisory Board and transmitted to council, but now the City Council is the final approval of that recommendation list. However, those ordinance amendments do not define which specific committee that it would go through. That is still defined by the City Council rules. And sometimes it's a bit of reading the fine print to make the tipping point between FGO and LUPS. However, based on historic practice, these particular ones would still go through FGO, and that amendment didn't change which committee assignment they would go to.
Thank you, Mr. Melendres. I will go to Councillor Sena and Councillor Davis and then Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to note, especially for the public, that we're voting just for the late introduction, that it is going through its process of being referred to committees. I am trying to stick to the point of this just being voted for introduction and not the bill specifically, because I would like to discuss that further within our committees, just to go over the details and give opportunity at FGO as well, and to speak with our members of our Open Space Advisory. So I'm just speaking on the, I guess, process of what we're voting on today, which is just having this introduced so that we can further discuss the actual bill further in committee and then later on at council.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. Councillor Davis?
Thanks, Madam President. Councilor Sena stole my thunder. I started these questions, and so let me just say I think this conversation shows that we want to have a robust discussion, and we're ready to do it. So let's send it to committee. If we don't have the answers we need, then we can defer it there. I think that's the appropriate venue. And so my apologies for extending this conversation.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President.
Councillor Jones, I think he froze. Councillor Jones? I'm going to go on to Councillor Benton. I think Councillor Jones, her system seems to have frozen. Councillor Benton.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would just say I'm not, with regard to what Councillor Davis said, I'm not opposed for it being introduced, although I think something of this significance, it gives me the wrong impression when it wasn't introduced timely, and that now suddenly it's a late intro. That does bother me. I'm just going to say that right up front. But nonetheless, I'm not opposed to it being introduced, but I would ask, Madam President, that we look into the history of discussions with regard to this. The committee name is Land Use Planning and Zoning. It's not Zoning Committee, okay? So let's get really clear that it has to do with just as it says. I think it's very well named, that committee. And that committee does good work, and that's what it's focused on. And so this is not just some fiscal matter that, oh yeah, we're throwing a chunk of change at a real estate deal. It is a significant policy matter for the city and with regard to our open space system. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam President.
Thank you, Councillor Benton. I'm going to go back to Councillor Jones as she's back with us.
Thank you, Madam President. For some reason, Zoom decided it didn't want to play with me anymore and just went away. But I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Benton. This is not something that we Zoom through, no pun intended. But we really need to study this. We're talking about a bunch of money coming out of a fund that is supposed to be used wisely and for our future. And I would like to see this come before the FGO. Would love to see it come before LUPS. That's really where it needs to be first, and before the full council. So I would like to see perhaps a change from FGO to LUPS, because LUPS is Land Use Planning and Zoning. And that needs to be addressed long before we talk about financing. So thank you, Madam President, for giving me that opportunity again.
Madam President?
Yes, Mr. Melendres.
Given the way the discussion is going, I think it'd be helpful to note that, again, it is the descriptors about how we assign committees are pretty lengthy, and there is some gray area in some instances between the two committees. This referral was more based on the history of how those referrals went, because they are ultimately related to acquisitions by the city. However, to the points that have been made, the Land Use Committee does include language that says its jurisdiction includes open land. It doesn't reference open space land. Perhaps historically that's been interpreted to mean merely the development of open land. However, if the council does feel that a different committee assignment or even a double committee, that's not normal, but that is possible, is appropriate, the letter may be amended for that purpose to send it to a different committee or both committees, if that's the choice.
Thank you, Mr. Melendres. Right now, we have a motion before us that the rules be suspended for referring this to Finance and Government Operations. We need 2/3 of a vote on this. And Councillor Sena, we did have a second on that, right, Crystal? If not, I'll second that. So do you want to go ahead and take the vote?
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
No.
Councillor Davis.
No.
Councillor Gibson.
No.
Councillor Jones.
No.
Councillor Pena.
Yes.
Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yeah.
Motion fails on a 4-4 vote.
That motion failed on a 4-4 vote. So With that, then this will move on to the regular process. And I guess our attorney will help us to determine what committees this needs to go on to.
Madam President, if I may.
Yes.
Given that the motion, excuse me, was for late introduction and that motion failed, what would occur now is it could get introduced at the next council meeting if the sponsors so choose.
Sorry, I'm muted. We will move on to our next order of business. Councillor.
Madam Chair, Madam President, point of order. May I ask that there be some consideration given to putting this before both committees, since it includes the land use and a fiscal matter?
Thank you, Councillor Benton. That will be taken into consideration, and we will have an opinion from our legal counsel attorney. So I will move on to our next order of business. Councillor Jones for Councillor Harris.
Madam President.
Mr. Rael.
Madam President, if I might ask the council just for a second to think about this particular introduction. I realize that we're probably having two different debates about this bill before it's even in the council process, but just for clarification, again, this was just a bill that was, unfortunately, we were not able to get it to you all on time. We'd like to get it introduced so that we can start the process. There is an opportunity, we believe, potentially to have a resolution to this long-standing issue related to this property. And there is a timing issue associated with it that may get us all to a place where both the seller and the community as a whole would benefit from this decision that could be made here in the next 30 to 45 days. Tonight's action simply means that we are delayed another 2 weeks, and all we're simply asking is that we get this introduced. Whether it goes to finance, whether it gets to finance or to LUPS is really not an issue for us, because we'll have that discussion. So I just wanted to make sure that the council knows that this is really a matter of timing, where we have a window of opportunity to potentially have this issue settled with the community as a whole, where both parties, both the seller of the property and the community that's been concerned about the development, walks out with a what I would call a win-win for the community. So just wanted to make that additional pitch, because this is all we're doing tonight, is just asking you to introduce it. And the vote that took place now means that it's delayed, and it could jeopardize what might be an opportunity to settle this issue once and for all. So just wanted to put that on the table for you all to think about, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Royale. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll let this go. I appreciate that, Mr. Rael, and I want to respond. And having voted in the negative, I might be willing to reconsider at a later point in the meeting. But I think the concern here is, just from my point of view, is that if someone's been negotiating about this around some dollar figure that we don't know about, the council didn't even have the text of this legislation available before the meeting today. And so there seemed to be a lot of pieces moving in other places that didn't involve the city council or presumed that there would be some funding available from sources. I think we just want some more information to determine how quickly that is. And again, I think we missed that. So maybe we can take a step backwards and decide if there's something timely here. But again, if someone's been working on this for months and we just got it at 2 o'clock this afternoon, it doesn't feel timely to me. It doesn't feel like there was a process here, but I'm sure we can work on that, Madam President. So maybe we revisit it later in the meeting.
Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate what Councillor Davis just said, but I'd also add that there was a second vote on the Open Space Board, which effectively kind of slowed this down a little bit. So I think that if we go through both of the committees, both land use, planning and zoning, as well as FGO, and just take this through letter of introduction in the normal way. We're not going to be setting back this process at all because of the work that Open Space Advisory Board wants to do as well. That's all.
Councillor Sena?
Thank you for that, Madam President. I just want to reiterate what Mr. Rail was really saying, and that this discussion has been occurring for some time, and it did get in for late introduction because of just trying to make sure that the language was what was intended, I suppose. Some of this discussion of what was talked about even in open space for that second vote is also in this resolution. But again, I didn't want to speak specifics to the resolution since we were just only voting on having this introduced. And I do believe it is timely to be heard so that, just introduced so that we can actually start discussing this within committee. I will say that in regards to some of the funding, it's also a request that I'm sending to the legislature as well. It's not just specifics to the request. Again, I don't want to get into the specifics, but we're looking at all available funding sources, and some of it is a little bit more pressing and timely. So that's where we're trying to get this at least introduced so that we could see this at committee. So I hope that we do reconsider this vote because I do believe that it's timely, and thinking about the whole process. I don't want to get too much into the property itself and some of the conversations that we've been having in acquiring this because I know it's in the process. So I hope we do consider this later on at today's council.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. I am going to ask that we move on, and before we accept our introductions today, we will come back and reconsider this if Councillor Sena would like to move for that motion. So we're going to move on to Councillor Jones for Councillor Harris, and then I have an item, and then we will come back to this item. So that will give councillors opportunity to kind of digest this a little bit. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. This is I'm carrying this for Councillor Harris, who had to be out of town. So we're going to look at both EC 19436 and OC 2125 at the same time. I'm going to discuss them, if I may, Madam President.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So EC 19436 is a piece of legislation that was starting out to, as discussed by homeowners today, to do a certain thing with vacation of public right-of-way for the Willowwood Homeowners Association. As they discussed, that was not acceptable and didn't work well. However, Councillor Harris has been working for months to come up with an alternative and get all the work done and the studies done.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I need a motion first.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was going to try to, all right, do I make two motions or do I do it at the same time? I was trying to explain what we're going to do before I make a motion.
I believe you just have one motion, Councilor.
Madam President, there are two related bills on this, if I may, Madam President.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. There are two related bills on this. One is an executive communication and one is the other communication. They do sort of the same thing, but they will require two different votes.
Okay, that's not on my script tonight, but we can add that.
Thank you, Madam President. In that case, I will just go ahead and say that Councillor Harris, we would like to do a do not approve. Is that what I want to do, Mr. Melendez? On the first one on EC 19436?
Madam President, yes, the do not approve or do not pass is fine.
I would like to make a motion on behalf of Councillor Harris to do EC 19436 do not pass.
I'm sorry, Councillor Jones, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. That's no problem.
We first actually need you to move that the bill, the OC, be added to the agenda today.
Thank you,
Sarah. Thank you.
Therefore, if I may, Madam President, this is a bit confusing for all of us. Before I move item A, I would like to move that OC 2125 be placed on tonight's agenda for immediate action.
I need a second on that. Councillor Bassan. Thank you. We'll go to the vote.
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
Yes.
Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
That passes on an 8-0 vote. So I guess now we, Mr. Melendres, am I correct? We will move on to 436.
Council, you need to actually move that year. We're on the top of page 5. Yeah. So we're just doing that. We're done now.
I'm sorry, councilors, we will move on to item R130 because we're not at that point yet, Councillor Jones.
Okay.
Okay, so I will move that the rules be suspended for the purpose of placing R130 on today's agenda for action. R130 is establishing a city healthy communities, public health, and sustainability policy committee. This is a new committee for City Council, and this is only for introduction. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilor Bassan, thank you for that second. And I need 2/3 of a vote of councilors on this particular item.
Madam President, a point of order, if I may.
Councilor Davis?
The message I understood was that this was being placed on the agenda for action tonight, but you just mentioned it was just for introduction. Can you clarify the motion on the floor for me before the vote, please?
Yes, this is actually for immediate action if we have the 2/3 vote. If not, then it goes to the regular process.
Thank you, Madam President. If you would permit me, I'd like to make a comment about the motion on the floor. This would be, as I understand it, Madam President, just from the glancing at it as a new item, this would be a pretty substantial committee. It would include everything from parks to family and community services to public health, equity and inclusion. About 85 to 90% of the city's operating would now go to this committee for policy development. I think that deserves a I may well support it because I think the issues are important and includes housing and other things as well. But I do think this, like the structure of this probably deserves more debate and discussion than we could give it in council without the opportunity for city departments and community organizations to weigh in. I wonder if the sponsor would be willing just to do it with a regular referral to one of our committees or a committee of the whole so that we can evaluate this like we did with our public safety committee.
I would absolutely entertain that, Councillor, since I am the sponsor of this new committee. I think that this is really more of a policy committee that would kind of, and what sparked some of this was discussion, just for the council's information, was a discussion of COVID and how we're dealing with COVID, but also for sustainable communities as we move forward with Albuquerque. And this committee is really designed to set policy for the city to ensure that we move forward as a healthy community and a sustainable community. But I would absolutely I could remove this at this point, withdraw it, and ask that we move it to our regular committee process.
I would defer to the sponsor for how she wants to handle it. I think that would be a good conversation for us to have and one we could do fairly quickly through our process if you'd be so willing, but I defer to you.
I'm delighted to take my motion off the floor on this particular issue, and we will move it to a committee for discussion.
Madam President, which committee would you like it referred to?
I'm thinking that actually. Sorry, I got muted by my host. I'm thinking that actually in this particular case, we might want to have both committees review this. Councilor Bassan?
Madam President, would committee of the whole be appropriate? That way it's just one committee,
Maybe
but
that would be better, actually. Thank you for that suggestion, Councilor Bassan. I would entertain that we move this to committee of the whole for discussion.
I'm sorry, Madam President, I have to interrupt here. Unfortunately, committee of the whole is a pretty solid jurisdiction language. So only things that have to do with the operating or capital budget go to the committee of the whole.
Then from other, Ms. Yara, any suggestions?
It could fit in FGO or in Public Safety Committee, so.
FGO?
Yeah.
Okay, we will, she's suggesting that we move this to FGO. Councilor Benson.
Thank you, Madam President. I was just going to suggest that it go to internal ops and then straight to the full council. Just, you know, internal ops could have a just a round robin discussion about the implications, and then we could go straight to council instead of going through the committee process. I mean, I think it's a legitimate proposal, and I just feel like it's pretty momentous one. So, but that's an idea. I don't even remember whether I'm on internal ops. I may or may not be.
Can we do that, Ms. Yara?
Madam President and Councilor Benton, normally Internal Operations Committee is reserved for me to report to you all on the status of our office and our actual budget for a department. So if it's not very clear from the rules if this would fit there, but this would involve the administration as well. So I don't know if you want it to go to internal ops.
Councilor Benson?
Yeah, Madam President, I think that's part of the reason. I think, you know, this bill is originating in the council, so I would like to have a discussion about it within the council before it goes to the administration. I don't know, maybe they're part of the concept, which is fine if they are, but I'm thinking, let's say it goes to one committee, and when we asked, you know, should it go to more than one committee, I was thinking, well, maybe it should go to public safety and FGO, and then that would kind of cover the bases, you know. But I'm just thinking aloud here because you know, the idea is something that I'd heard of from President Borrego, and I just didn't know exactly the details. So those are some ideas.
I think it's appropriate that it goes. This is a far-reaching committee, and I understand that. And I think it's important that we are clear about where it should go at this point in time. And it just illustrates the need for a policy committee at council level. So it may be appropriate that it goes to FGO, and that we do review this in several of our committees. Councilor, I'm sorry, Councilor Yara.
Thank you, Madam President, and thanks for electing me Councilor. I have a suggestion. Perhaps the council would like for this item to be held over so the full council can hear about it next time or at a future meeting, and it would bypass committee if that were the pleasure of y'all.
I think that's a better suggestion, councilors. That way we can have a discussion regarding this bill. If councilors agree to that, then we can send this to full council. I don't see a no, so I guess that means yes. Okay, councilors, we're going to go back now to item R134, unless there's any other discussion regarding that previous bill. R134 is establishing a priorities list for the city of Albuquerque's future open space land acquisitions. And this bill, Councilor Senna, would you like to make a motion for reconsideration?
Excuse me, Madam President, Councilor, sorry to interrupt here, but one of the councilors who voted against the motion has to be the maker of the motion for reconsideration. So that.
Councilor Davis, would you like consider that reconsideration?
No, Madam President, I think we've got a process and it's going to committee, so I think it's fine.
Okay. All right, then with that, are there any other changes to the letter of introduction? Councilor Benton?
Yes, Madam President. I'd be willing to go along. I mean, I'm not sure if this is even appropriate. I'd be willing to discuss a reconsideration of the action if we could have this go to both committees and make clear that that's the case.
Councilor Senna, this is in your district. Would you consider that?
Madam President, I just noted that the next LUBS committee meeting on our script is the next, I guess, the 10th is going to be canceled. So I would like to ask our chair of LUBS if she would be willing to have that meeting on February 10th, that it can go to that committee as well.
Councilor Jones?
I have no problem with that, Councilor Senna.
Madam President, I'll move for reconsideration and with that understanding.
Thank you, Councilor Benton. We have a motion and a second from Councilor Davis for reconsideration of this particular item. Is there any other discussion? And I think the understanding is that this particular item will go to both Land Use and Finance Committee. So we will take a new vote on this vote of reconsideration. Oh, Councilor Pena has a question.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to ask the council staff, what happens if one committee approves it and the other one doesn't?
Mr. Melendres, I'll ask you to answer that question.
I appreciate that question. We don't traditionally have double committee assignments. However, no action of this on this bill would be final with respect to either of those committees. So what would happen is the committees would report out the recommendations at council, and then the city council would consider both recommendations, taking into consideration the jurisdiction of the relative committees, and then make its final determination here at council.
Councilor Benton?
Yes, just for clarification and for the council's information, the open space priorities resolution went to LUPS last time. It was considered by the council. So I do support both committees hearing it. But at the very least, I guess I should say, at the very least, I support LUPS hearing it as opposed to FGO.
Thank you, Councilor Benton. So with that, if there's no other discussion, we will move on to a new vote on this particular item. Crystal.
Yes, Madam President, and just to make it really clear, what we're voting on now is for reconsideration of the previous vote to suspend the rules on R134. So what we'll do is I'll take a vote for reconsideration, which requires a majority, and then we'll need to take a re-vote on a rule suspension. Councilor Bassan.
Yes.
Councilor Benton.
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Gibson.
Yes.
Councilor Jones.
Yes.
Councilor Pena.
Yes.
Councilor Senna.
Yes.
Councilor Borrego.
Yeah.
That's 8-0 on the reconsider motion now. We'll go to a motion from a counselor who would like to move to suspend the rules to introduce R134 and refer it to, it appears, multiple committees, Finance and LEPS.
Thank you, Crystal. So we will move on to Counselor Sena, and this is a vote on the original introduction bill.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to move that the rules be suspended for the purpose of introducing R134 and referring it to Finance and Government Operations Committee, as well as Land Use and Planning and Zoning. Again, R134 is establishing a priorities list for the City of Albuquerque's future open space land acquisitions, identifying immediate priorities and special provisions for certain properties.
And we have a second from Counselor Benton on that item. So unless there's any other discussion, and I don't see anybody's hand up, so we will move on to Crystal and she will take the vote on that.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Counselor Benton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Gibson.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
Sorry, they keep muting me and unmuting me. So let me get this straight. So we are going to move back to our letter of introduction, and Counselor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move approval of the letter of introduction.
Do I have a second? There's a second from Counselor Bassan. Crystal?
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Counselor Benton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Gibson.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
So the letter of introduction passes on an 8-0 vote with one item being removed. And now there are no reports of committees this evening. So we will move on to deferrals and withdrawals. Counselors, are there any deferrals or withdrawals at this time? Counselor Sena or Counselor Davis?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to move for a deferral on O39, enacting the Healthy Families and Workplaces Ordinance to require that employers in the city provide paid leave to employees. I'd like to move this for a deferral till March 1st.
We have a motion and I have a second from Counselor Davis. Any questions? If not, Crystal, would you take the vote on this?
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Counselor Benton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Gibson.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0 on the deferral.
That motion passes on an 8-0 vote. So we will move on with that item to the consent agenda. Counselor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam President. I pull item F, which is EC 21-239 off the consent agenda. EC 239 is the approval of Imperial Inn Development Agreement with Imperial Palindrome LLC.
Thank you, Counselor Gibson. There's no motion needed on this particular item. Are you planning to bring this back to us in a specific amount of time?
Well, my next motion was going to be to move a deferral, a 2-week deferral until February 17th of this month, in a couple of weeks. This would give time for the MR department and other experts on this to be able to answer questions that council.
Okay, Counselor, So you have pulled that off of the agenda, and we will vote on that after we've gone through these additional items.
Okay.
Okay, for the individuals on tonight's consent agenda who are being appointed to serve on a board or commission and who may be watching from home, we want to thank you for your willingness to serve with the City of Albuquerque. Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move approval of the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Councillor Bassan. Thank you for that second. Crystal.
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
Yes.
Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you, councillors. That motion passes on an 8-0 vote. Councillor Gibson, going back to the item that you pulled off of the consent agenda, approval of the Imperial Inn Development Agreement with Imperial Palindrome LLC.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I'll move deferral until February 17th.
Okay, I need a second. Councillor Bassan offering a second. Crystal, would you like to take that?
Yes, Madam President. Councillor Bassan.
I think.
Madam Chair, I have a question before we vote.
I'm sorry, Councillor Benton. I didn't see your hand up. Councillor Benton?
I just asked the Councillor Gibson, what's the concern about this?
Well, thank you for that question. This is the first time we've seen it. It didn't get a committee assignment. And it's something new, something that the city has not done before. It's for a very good project. I just think that, you know, we haven't really been given time to ask questions. I did have a conversation with Miss Karen Iverson earlier today, and she was able to, you know, clear some things up for me. However, because this is brand new, and it is a complex issue here of funding issue. And according to Ms. Iverson, it's not going to push the timeline on this back at all if we can hear it on our next agenda. And I noticed that Ms. Iverson is here with us, so she might be able to add to that.
Madam President, yeah, I would like to hear from Ms. Iverson.
Ms. Iverson, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President, council members. Without getting into the details, unless you want to get into the agenda item, it will be imperative that we do approve this at the next, by the next city council meeting. The developer has an option to purchase this property that expires at the end of the month. So that would be pushing us to the end of our timeline in order to secure this and make it go forward.
And Madam President, if I may.
Go ahead, Councillor Benton.
So, and Ms. Iverson, this went through a selection process, the normal selection process for metropolitan redevelopment projects, correct?
Madam President, Councillor Benton, it went through an RFP process and it has been discussed twice at the Albuquerque Development Commission, both times with unanimous recommendation for approval to the City Council.
And councilors, I would just say I'm going to oppose this motion and have this go through as part of the consent agenda. This is in the East Downtown area. This is a motel that's basically, as many we have in the city, that's a nuisance to the area. And we've got a willing developer, and we've gone through the process. The Development Commission really is who reviews these, and that's why it just comes out on the consent agenda, but I'll oppose the motion. Thank you.
Any other comments? Counselor Gibson?
Chair, thank you. I said it once, but I'll repeat myself. I think this is a great project, but what we're talking about is a no interest forgivable loan for $700,000. I think that it merits at least an airing and sunshine, an ability to, an opportunity rather to talk about this funding and where it came from, which is, you know, I don't mean to give anybody the impression I think there's anything wrong with this. It is just brand new, you know, for crying out loud. Look at all the, you know, all the other projects that we've put together with far more familiar type of funding that we debated and discussed in this board for a long time. And this just came to us. No one's seen it until just recently. Did not go through committee. Maybe it didn't need to go through committee. I would have put it through committee because it was brand new. But 2 weeks is not going to push back this project at all. It's not going to inconvenience anyone. I just think that this is the responsible thing for us to do. That's all I have, Madam President. Thank you.
Madam President.
Mr. Rael.
Madam President, members of the council, just to give you a little bit of the history on this, as Ms. Iverson indicated, it did go through the ADC and it was an RFP process. I think that the situation was simply is that we introduced this bill 2 weeks ago, but because of the council schedule, et cetera, it would have normally have gone to finance and then been reported out today and then approved at the next meeting. But we didn't have a government finance committee meeting, so it got held over on the council agenda so that we don't miss the deadline. And councilors and Councilor Gibson, look, the administration is fine if you all want to send this to finance. It just it's going to need immediate action out of finance if everyone agrees that the project is worthwhile, and we can still get it out by the 17th of February. So that Ms. Iverson's commitment with the developer is that this property or this would be approved by the city before the end of the month. So there is a path to do that, but I just wanted to clarify the record. The reason that it didn't go to finance is because there was not a finance committee meeting in between the introduction and this meeting today. So again, if we want to send it to finance, we would ask for immediate action out of finance and then approval, hopefully, if you all agree, on the 17th of February, and therefore we'd be in line with our commitment to the developer to make this project come to fruition.
Point of order, Madam President.
Pardon me.
I believe the motion was for deferral, not to send it to finance.
Yes, thank you.
Councilor Gibson, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, it's clearly just a deferral, a 2-week deferral to come back before this council at our next meeting.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor, councilors. So I'm going to, unless there's any other discussion, I'm going to go ahead and take that vote.
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
No.
Councillor Davis.
No.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
No.
Councillor Sena.
No.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
That motion fails on a 4-4 vote.
The motion fails on a 4-4 vote. So given that, we would need to go back to the consent agenda. And I'm going to need a motion regarding the item F, and that is EC 239, approval of the Imperial Inn Development Agreement with Imperial Palindrome LLC. I have a motion by Counselor Benton and a second by Counselor Davis. Is there any other discussion? Counselor Benton?
Madam President, I just wanted to clarify, since we're having a bunch of 4-4 votes here, what if this vote fails? I just want to ask our staff.
Ms. Yara?
Yes, Madam President and councilors, if the next motion fails on a 4-4 vote, we would entertain a different motion until we could have some action here.
Any other questions? If not, I will ask for a vote on item F. Crystal?
And just to be sure I'm clear here, I have Counselor Benton making a motion for approval of EC 239 with Counselor Davis seconding.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Bassan.
No.
Counselor Benton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Gibson.
No.
Counselor, Jones.
No.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Borrego.
Sorry, I'm having to unmute and mute. Yes.
Motion passes.
So that motion passes on a 5-3 vote. Okay, do I need to reconsider the consent agenda vote based on that? No.
No, ma'am.
Okay, we will move on to our announcements. Counselor Pena.
Thank you, Madam President. There will be an intergovernmental legislative relations committee meeting on Friday, February the 5th and Friday, February 12th at 4 p.m. via Zoom.
Thank you. Counselor Bassan.
Thank you, Madam President. There will be a Finance and Government Operations Committee meeting on Monday, February 8th at 3 p.m. via Zoom.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Sena.
There will be a Public Safety Committee meeting on Tuesday, February 9th at 3 p.m. via Zoom.
Counselor Jones.
I apologize, I don't have it in front of me.
Would you like me to read it, Counselor?
Yes, please. We were going to cancel, but I think we're not.
The
Please.
Land Use Planning and Zoning Committee meeting scheduled for Wednesday, February 10th is canceled.
No.
But now it's not.
But now it's not.
Oh, has been resurrected. There we go.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay, we have no public hearings this evening, so we will move on to our approvals. Counselor Jones for Counselor Harris. EC 436.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President. I believe the intent of this is to withdraw EC 19436. I make a motion to withdraw.
We have a motion to withdraw and Counselor Bassan second. Any discussion? Here's not. We will move on to our vote. Crystal.
Madam President and Counselor Jones, I believe the appropriate motion would be not be approved, but certainly Mr. Melendres can pipe up if he'd like, because I believe given that it's an EC, we cannot make that withdrawal outright unless, of course, requested by the administration.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I shall do what you recommend on behalf of.
Would you like to amend your motion to withdraw?
Yes, I would like to. What's my motion, Crystal?
Not be approved.
Make a motion not be approved EC 19436.
And I believe we had a second by Counselor Bassan. So we will, unless there's any other discussion, we will take a vote.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Counselor Benton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Gibson.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Counselor Sena. Council Borrego,
Yes.
8-0.
That motion passes on an 8-0 vote. Thank you, counselors. We will move on to item B. Counselor Jones for Counselor Harris. And this
Thank
is
you, Madam.
25.
Thank you, Madam President. I actually understand this one. This is the substitute with a different planning requested by Councilor Harris, OC 2125, to take care of the needs of the Tony Sanchez Drive Southeast and the questions that the residents talked with us about. So I move a do approve or do pass.
Thank you. And I have a second by Counselor Bassan and Counselor Davis. Any other discussion, counselors? If not, we will move on to our vote. Crystal.
Counselor Bassan,
Yes.
Counselor Benton,
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Gibson, Counselor Gibson.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
Yes.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Borrego,
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you. Counselors, that motion passes on an 8-0 vote. So I am moving on to item number C, which is EC 243. This is the Albuquerque Energy Council FY19 and FY20 biannual report. I will move motion be noted.
Second.
I will move receipt be noted.
Second.
There's a second by Counselor Jones and Counselor Benton. Any discussion? If not, we will take a vote on this particular item. Crystal.
Counselor Bassan,
Yes.
Counselor Benton,
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Gibson.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
Yes.
Counselor Sena,
Yes.
Counselor Borrego,
Yes.
8-0.
Thank you, counselors. That motion passes on an 8-0 vote. We will move on to final actions. Counselor Benton, 041.
Thank you, Madam President. I move a do pass on 041, which is amending sections of the Selection Advisory Committee ordinance to incorporate design build services into the Selection Advisory Committee process.
Counselors, I need a second. Counselor Jones, I've got a second. Thank you. Counselor Davis also. Counselor Benton, would you like to elaborate on this bill?
Yeah, I am sponsoring this on at the request of the administration. I think on certain projects, this is a realistic way of procurement. You know, what sort of limits and so forth that we utilize, these can be determined administratively, but this is a common way and a way of really getting cost control on certain types of projects. So I urge your support.
Thank you. Any other questions from counselors? If not, we have a motion and a second. Crystal, would you like to take that vote?
Yes, Madam President.
I'm sorry, Madam President. I believe that there was an amendment, Councilor Benton, is that correct?
Mr. Ryle?
I'm sorry, Madam President. I think there was an amendment that was going to be introduced. Is that correct, Councilor Benton?
I do not have one here available anyway.
Madam President, if I may, I think Mr. Padilla sent us some language about 1:30 this afternoon and asked him to get that prepared for us. I'm not sure, Mr. Padilla, if he's had a chance to do that, if it was on the dais in time.
Yeah, let's.
Hello?
I'm sorry, but we didn't receive that amendment. Mr. Padilla, are you available? You could talk about that amendment and the counselors can consider whether or not they'd like to pass that.
Madam President, yes, that amendment was emailed earlier, but it was just before the meeting. So I apologize, I got there a little late. I did email a copy of it to Crystal Ortega just now. I don't know if she's received it yet.
We're going to put that amendment up on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read it into the record. Amendment sponsored by Councillor Benton. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Benton, go ahead.
I guess I'm sponsoring this. Well, I'm sponsoring the bill by request, so I'll read this. But yeah, so this amendment reads on page 4, line 31, add section 11 as follows. The city will comply with state laws regarding prevailing wage, public works, and apprentice training, and any directive of the State Department of Workforce Solution related to these laws. So obviously these are the wages that govern these type of projects are determined by state prevailing wage and in our own relation to that. So I'll move that amendment.
I think I'll second that. I think. Yeah, we do. Thank you.
Councillor Benton, we have an amendment, and Councillor Davis has a second. Are there any other questions from councillors regarding this amendment? If not, we will take a vote on the amendment.
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
Yes.
Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0 on Amendment 1.
And that is labeled as Amendment 1. Are there any other amendments regarding this particular bill? Councillor Benton.
I don't have any other amendments, Madam President.
Okay, your hand was still up. Sorry, Councillor. Okay, we will go back to 041, the original bill. And is there any other discussion regarding the original bill? If not, we will take a vote on the original bill.
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
Yes, but a quick question. It's as amended?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, because she said original bill.
041 as amended.
Amendment number 1. Yes.
Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0, that passes as amended.
Okay, that vote is 8-0 as amended. Thank you, councillors. We will move on to item number C, which is 046, adding Article 20 of Chapter 13 of the Revised Ordinances of Albuquerque to add Part 1, creating the Albuquerque Taxpayers and Consumer Rights Ordinance. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. If I may, I just want to say, I wanted to mention in the last, before the last vote, but I just want to say thank you to Mr. Real and Mr. Pulley and Mr. Padilla for working with us so much on that last piece of legislation. We had held it up a little bit to work out some finer details. And as you can see, folks are still working on it today. And I really do appreciate it. They went out of their way to accommodate some of the stakeholders involved. And I really do appreciate their work on that. Madam President, 046 adds an Article 20 of Chapter 13 to the revised ordinances of the City of Albuquerque to add Part 1, creating an Albuquerque Tax Preparers and Consumer Rights Ordinance. I would move a do pass, and we have some amendments.
Do we have a second? Councillor Bassan, thank you for that second. Councillor Sena, thank you for that second. So Councillor Davis, would you like to discuss your amendments?
I would. If Mr. Moya has them, it might be easier for him to place them on the screen if that's possible. If not, I can walk through them. I also want to mention, Madam President, that Ms. Myers is here from the administration who can help us talk about some of the details here. But in essence, we heard some, to introduce the amendment, we heard some concerns from councilors and members of the public that there were lots of pieces of this legislation, all of which are important for consumers and especially in tax time to prevent vulnerable people, including immigrants, low income and seniors from being taken advantage of by unscrupulous tax preparers. But what we heard was there are two pieces of this. One is a notice. Everybody should just know what their rights are. And another piece is a framework for ensuring that type of accountability that the city can do. This looks like an awful lot, but honestly, what this amendment does, and it will be floor amendment number 1, is it removes the section on licensure for the moment to allow us to limit this and create just a notice bill for a taxpayer's notice this year, and allows the council to come back and revisit the licensing issues at another time. And so I'll move floor amendment number 1.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Is there a second? Councillor Senna? And I would just ask Ms. Myers if you'd like to weigh in.
No, we have worked with Madam President and councilors. We've worked with Councillor Davis on this amendment and support it.
Thank you. Councillor Bassan, did you have a question?
Thank you, Madam President. Councillor Davis, are you planning on I just want to make sure that it's very clear, you're going to plan on initiating the licensee part of this at a later date?
Madam President and Councilor Bassan, and I appreciate your input on this, which was part of our willingness to move forward on this. I want to be sure that we get the notice piece done, the rights, because people's taxes are being done now. And we want to have a different conversation with more of the councilors. I've asked Ms. Myers to do that and to help us set up a process for that. So I do think it's a conversation the administration wants to have, and it's a conversation that whether I bring it or someone else does, we will have. And so I'm welcoming a broader conversation before we introduce that, if that's okay.
Thank you, Councillor. That helps. I just wanted to make sure that somebody will make sure that we follow up on that second part at a later date and it doesn't fall through the cracks. So thank you, and thanks, Ms. Myers.
Councillor Pena?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted clarity, Councillor Davis, once again. So your amendment does exactly what? Because I was interested in a deferral because I just thought, you know, it's an important bill, but I think we needed to have lots more discussion. So I just want to be clear on what you said.
Absolutely. And Madam President and Councilor Pena, as you know, when the administration says we work closely with Councilor Davis to work on this amendment, what that really means is they did all the work and put our name on it. So we can let Ms. Myers talk about it. But this breaks the bill out into 2 pieces. The only piece we would be voting on tonight if we approve this amendment is the notice provision, because people are beginning to file their taxes now, and it would require non-licensed or non-CPAs or lawyers who prepare taxes to give notice to individuals they are helping prepare taxes for, that if they meet a certain income threshold, they, for instance, could get their taxes done for free. It also says you have to tell them how much you're going to charge before you get started. So it's just the notice provision tonight. That's all this would do. The other provisions I think we should revisit in a longer and more in-depth conversation.
So, Madam President, if I can follow up.
Go ahead, Councillor.
So this would actually require them to give an amount prior to?
Madam President, Councilor Pena, that's correct.
Okay. So then my question on that is that many of the what is being called unscrupulous people who prepare taxes, many of them are people who actually just have the client just put that it was self-prepared and they do it for them, and they, you know, take a fee for that. So I'm not sure, you know, I just think this is such important legislation that, you know, I think that it really merits a longer discussion. I think that we should probably, you know, talk about this for the upcoming year. I think it's really important, and we want to get it right the first time, kind of like when we did the pawn ordinance. You know, it was just not as simple as we thought it would be. So I'd like to see if we could just defer this, kind of get some more information. And so I'd make a motion for deferral.
There's a motion for deferral. Is there a second? Councillor Jones is offering a second on that particular item. So it looks like we're gonna, Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. If it's possible and the President would like, I'd like to ask Ms. Myers to respond to that a little bit about how the process would work on the amended piece of legislation, about the notice that would be required and what types of notice would be required. I think that would make it easier on all of us to swallow a little bit, because tax season is upon us and folks are beginning and here in the next few weeks. And we certainly want this to be we want our consumers in Albuquerque to have their rights protected as quickly as possible. If Madam President would so allow, I think Ms. Myers could comment on the question of deferral.
Ms. Myers, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam President and councilors. I think that the situation that Councilor Pena raises falls squarely within what this is intended to protect. So for example, if someone goes in, regardless of what happens in terms of how they prepare it, the tax preparer upfront needs to give them an estimate. They need to say, this is how much I charge for these kinds of services, for this particular form, or for doing your small business, so that the person going in, the consumer, has some information about how much this is going to cost them before they agree to engage that person. Then we would assume that there's a discussion between the tax preparer and the consumer about what is their tax situation, how much is their income, what is their source of income, is it a small business, do they have wages, etc. And then they would give them an estimate based on the information they gather. They would be able to tell them, this is my estimate of how much it's going to cost you. When it's over, if that, as a result of information they find out during the pendency of doing the services, preparing the tax return, and it's more, they can tell them, okay, here's what the difference is. So it really is focused on making sure people know what they're going to pay. And if they're asked to pay more, that they are explained, they get an explanation. What we're hearing from community people is that people go in with the most simple of tax returns and aren't told up front how much it's going to cost. And they get charged a very high fee. We're also told that people go in and are then charged an additional charge to get a copy of the return that they are now filing, that they aren't just given a free copy, that they don't get their personal papers back. And so these are problems that people are experiencing. And what this says is you need to be upfront, tell people how much you're going to charge them so people can make a choice. And if they don't want to pay that amount, they can go somewhere else. So that we're trying to support the taxpayer, the consumer's choice in engaging the tax preparer for services. And so all of those things would be in terms of disclosures and information. The consumer also would be entitled to just get a brochure that tells them, here's what you need to look for. You want to make sure you don't sign a tax return that has blank spaces and then that are going to be filled in later. You want to make sure you get a copy. You want to make sure you ask about this information that, to make sure you get, that you're informed. So that's the focus of this. And it is intended to sort of create a level playing field, if you will, so that the tax preparer who is acting, basically as in some form, maybe not a legal fiduciary, but is acting, because they're getting all this financial information, that they are providing reasonable disclosures to the tax payer, and that the taxpayer is protected in that. We are putting aside the licensing and bonding. We took notice of the fact that people felt that needed much more thought. How would that work exactly? And make sure that we had sufficient time to really think through how to implement that. And we took notice of that and agree that that makes a lot of sense. So this has been narrowed substantially to disclosures and consumer rights. And that's what we're doing.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Councillor Pena, before you go on with your comment, Councillor Pena, could you clarify how long that deferral was that you were considering?
Until February 17th. And Ms. Myers, thank you for your presentation. I've actually heard it once before. I think there's a lot of good information, but there's a lot of information in there. And I would just really, hearing from some people in the field, I think it would just behoove us just to at least be able to get some more input and ensure that we're doing this correctly. I agree with you. You know, our most vulnerable populations that we have in our communities oftentimes, you know, get charged at the tail end. So I understand everything that you're saying. And I just, you know, want to make sure that, you know, the ones that are reputable, to ensure that they have their input into this and make sure that it's something that's going to be a win-win for everyone.
Madam President, may I respond?
Yes.
My understanding is that the original bill was posted 2 months ago, so that this has been available to the public for quite a long time. The other thing is that tax season opens February 15th, I believe. And so if we're going to make sure that people who start filing their taxes have the opportunity to be protected, now it would be, you know, we could do it later, but it's a timeliness issue, and time really is of the essence. And the further we delay, then the reason to be given by people who are raising questions is, well, we shouldn't act quickly, and we should wait, and we shouldn't do it this set season. So that would be my concern and my response to the issues that were raised.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Councilor Pena, did you have anything else?
I could follow up to that just to say that, you know, I'm in agreement. That's why I think February 17th, you know, it gives us just a little bit more time to have some more discussions, and then we can finalize it at that point. And I do agree that, yeah, I'm sure the bill has been out for a while, but sometimes when our bills kind of come to the final stage, as all of the counselors know, that sometimes it gets added attention, and it raises some eyebrows as we get closer. So thank you, Madam President.
So I'm going to go to Councilor Bassan, and then I'm going to go to Councilor Sena.
Thank you, Madam President. I think that I'm a firm advocate for any kind of accountability and transparency. And while I was reading through this legislation and the amendments that are being proposed, I absolutely can see that that's what this is doing. It's trying to hold some people accountable. And I think that it's a shame that this is where it's coming to, is that for the consumer rights and the consumer protections, we have to be able to force some kind of legislation in order to make sure that happens. But my question is, because after saying that, my question is, if we were to, let's say we were to pass this tonight, what is the expected time frame to educate and get these requirements out to all of these different tax preparers?
Thank you, Madam President. May I respond?
Yes.
Madam President and councilors, that's a really good question. We have been working since it was deferred on January 4th to have everything ready to go if you approve tonight. That means the following: there would be a press release. We have very detailed questions and answers that would be sent to every tax preparer that we have been able to find through Google searches or other forms. They would get a letter from the city and this question and answer. Everything would be posted on the website. The consumer rights brochure would be available on the website. We have sample forms for all the disclosures, so that there is a sample form they can use for the fee schedule, for the estimate, that kind of thing, so that they can just download those forms. They will be translated. We haven't translated them yet because we didn't want to incur the cost until you all approved it, hopefully. They will be translated so that they can also be available in Spanish. We have other information that will go on the website, and all of this will be done. One of the things that I found interesting in preparing for this was we did a search of the business registrations and compared them to people who advertise that they're doing tax preparation. And not everybody is registered in the city of Albuquerque. And so obviously bringing people up to compliance will take a little time. The plan is that as we find out more information, they would get a letter that just says, this is a letter to remind you that here's this law that you have to comply with, and providing them more information. So we see this as a transformational time period to get people to understand their obligations and to come into compliance.
Madam President, if I may follow up with another question. Thank you. And so my next question is, when everything, it sounds like you're on top of it, and I think that's fabulous. And I'm grateful to hear that. But I am concerned if everything is in a downloadable format, what is the expectation of these preparers if they are to provide these brochures to each person that comes in, and now they need to make sure to provide that? I'm concerned about the level of cost that's anticipated for them. And I guess where I'm going with all of this is, although I see that tax season is now upon us, and it's absolutely here for many people, at the same time, we need to think about it from the other end of this, where we want to protect the consumer. And yet, how do we expect these burdens to be put on some of these preparers if that is indeed what's written, which is what I read earlier, was that a brochure needs to be provided. So the cost alone could be increased that these preparers are not prepared for.
Madam President, Counselor, it's a one-page back-to-back. So it'll take one piece of paper for them to print it out, fold it up, and make it available to the people who walk in. So the cost will be minimal.
Thank you, Councillor Bassan. We'll move on to Councillor Sena.
Thank you, Madam President. Councillor Bassan essentially asked my questions in terms of the timeline for this, because I know that, as Ms. Myers was stating, that tax season starts February 15th, and actually a lot of my constituents are already reaching out, especially for the senior services that give assistance to our seniors for their taxes, that I just worry that if there is a deferral on this, that initiation that Ms. Myers was talking about, of how we would present more education to those tax preparers so that they'd be ready to give those notices by the 15th. So I don't know if I can support this deferral, just knowing that it's just around the corner and people are already seeking services for tax preparers.
Councillor Bassan.
Thank you, Madam President. My apologies. I have one more that I wanted to add on. If you can please remind me, I don't remember reading any kind of penalty or fine should something not occur in this. And I guess my point is there can be some kind of grace, as you're saying, with being able to have to find these preparers, or, if they haven't had the opportunity to get on top of things too quickly or right away. And as long as they can probably provide the fact that they're not doing that on purpose, that would be something that people can start utilizing now, and then we can continue the discussion and make more amendments as needed in the future, correct?
Madam President, Councillor, yes, absolutely. We have talked internally about the fact that there is a penalty which is consistent with other city ordinances. But our intent is not to penalize, it is to get people to do the right thing. And so our intent is to make sure we take the time to send out this information, to answer questions, to be available to answer questions. And if there's a problem, to give them notice and say, here's the problem, here's what you're not doing. You have to give out this form, or you're not disclosing your fees. There obviously is a time factor in that, and we understand that. But the goal is not penalty at this point. It is to bring people to understand why this is important.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. I think it's sad that we have to do that, but thank you. Sorry, Madam President. Thank you very much. I think that it's sad we have to do this, but I'm glad somebody's doing it.
Councillor Pena, you had your hand up. Councillor Pena? You're muted.
I did have a question. Sorry.
Go ahead.
She said no.
I said I didn't have a question, but
you didn't. I thought you said I did have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Councillor. One of the questions that I have, just because I did receive several calls today, and I appreciate that you're trying to take care of the consumer, but I had several calls today from some tax preparers that have already prepared taxes for individuals and for the next go round of tax preparation cycle, and they have not notified. So that's one of the questions that I have, is that these people have already prepared, they've already prepared taxes for individuals. And you know, kind of coming in the middle of this is a question that I have. What happens to the people that they've already prepared taxes for? And I don't know if Ms. Myers can answer that, or our attorney, or who can answer that. Counselor Davis?
Madam President, I can answer that. It is only effective as of the date it goes into effect. So it has to go through all the usual ordinance approval process and published, and then it has a time period after that before it's effective. Anybody who went to a tax preparer today is not covered by it, and the tax preparer is not covered by it until it goes into effect. But then once it does go into effect going forward, then those would become, covered by the ordinance.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions? If not, we have a motion for deferral and a second, and that actually overshadows our amendment. So we need to take a vote on the deferral.
Councillor Bassan?
No.
Councillor Benton?
No.
Councillor Davis?
No.
Councillor Gibson?
No.
Councillor Jones?
No.
Councillor Pena?
Yes.
Councillor Sena?
No.
I'm sorry, excuse me?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Borrego?
No.
Motion fails 1-7.
Okay, that motion for deferral fails on a 1-7 vote. So Counselor Davis, we're back on your amendment.
Madam President, if there's no other discussion, and we've had plenty, I would urge your support and ask us to vote on the amendment.
Okay, this is Amendment 1, and we have a motion. Do I have a second? Counselor Sena. Counselor Bassan, thank you for that second. So we will take a vote on that particular amendment.
Councillor Bassan?
Yes.
Councillor Benton?
Yes.
Councillor Davis?
Yes.
Councillor Gibson?
Yes.
Councillor Jones?
Yes.
Councillor Pena?
Yes.
Councillor Sena?
Yes.
Councillor Borrego?
Yes.
8-0 on Amendment 1.
Okay, Councilors, Amendment number 1 passes on an 8-0. Counselor Davis, Amendment number 2.
I might ask Mr. Moya to share that if possible. Thank you, ma'am. Madam President, this is a technical cleanup for some grammatical corrections and clarifies some of the language. Some of this has to do with the latest amendment we just passed and how that relates to other language in there. So this would be for Amendment number 2, and I would urge your support.
Thank you, Counselor. And I'm looking to see if there's a second, and there is a second by Counselor Sena. So is there any other discussion? If not, we will take a vote on Amendment number 2.
Councillor Bassan?
Yes.
Councillor Benton?
Yes.
Councillor Davis?
Yes.
Councillor Gibson?
Yes.
Councillor Jones?
Yes.
Councillor Pena?
Yes.
Councillor Sena?
Yes.
Councillor Borrego?
Yes.
8-0 on Amendment number 2.
Amendment number 2 also passes on an 8-0 vote. We will go back to the original bill 046 as amended. Counselor Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. We've had a lot of discussion about this tonight. I think the points have been well taken and presented. I think this is an important thing we can do. I do wish we'd have gotten to it a little sooner in the year, but it just didn't get developed that way. But there's still time, and especially in this year when so many people are struggling financially, and there are so many different changes to tax laws with grants and provisions and everything else. I think it's more important than ever that people just understand their basic rights. And as a city, we can do our part to be sure that our most vulnerable get as many of their dollars back in their pocket as possible. And so with that, I want to thank Ms. Myers and the administration, and I urge your support.
Thank you, Counselor Davis. We have a motion and a second. And I just for clarification, Counselor Davis, so we have taken out the bonding requirement and the licensing requirement in this particular bill, and those items may come back later to us. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam President. In expediency of getting it in for the tax season, the remaining bill just as the notice provision that would go into effect once we pass this. But I would like the council to come back, and I'll work with the administration and other councilors on a provision that might kick in for next year relating to licensing if we find that that's appropriate.
Thank you, Counselor. We have a motion and a second. And I just want to thank Ms. Myers for being with us this evening and for working on this. Crystal, would you like to take that vote?
Yes, Madam President. Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
Yes.
Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0 passes as amended.
Okay, that motion passes on an 8-0 vote as amended. We will move on to Councillor Davis. 048, approving a project involving Southwestern Pattern Works Incorporated.
Thank you, Madam President, and I thank my colleagues for their votes in moving that forward. I think this one will be a lot quicker. 048 approves a project involving Southwest Pattern Works Incorporated pursuant to LEDA and the city ordinance supporting that operation and authorizing the execution of a PPLA and other documents in connection with that project. I move a do pass on 048.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? Councillor Sena, thank you for that second. Is there any discussion by councilors regarding this particular item?
Madam President, if I may, I think we have some guests from NNED and here from Economic Development.
I do.
I would defer to the president if she wants to hear from them if necessary.
Look, it appears that we have Ms. Myers and Mr. Gruner from New Mexico Economic Development Department. So who would like to go first?
Sure, Madam President, this is Jennifer Myers. I'll go first. I'm very pleased to present Southwest Pattern Works. Southwest Pattern Works is LEDA 20-8 is the 6th and final LEDA 0% loan recipient. The New Mexico Economic Development Department has done a great job promoting the program and selecting high caliber companies. With this legislation, we will be requesting approval of $100,000 in Local Economic Development Act zero interest loan funds. There are no city funds involved. The city will be acting as a fiscal agent for the state's program. Just to recap of the program, the State of New Mexico Economic Development Department developed a loan program in response to the economic hardships suffered by many New Mexican businesses during COVID-19 pandemic. New Mexico Economic Development Department asked communities statewide to partner with the department as a fiscal agent for a zero interest state loan program through LEDA. Funding will assist businesses with expenses related to land, building infrastructure as required by the LEDA ordinance. We appreciate the State Economic Development Department staff in working with us to assist Albuquerque companies in these uncertain times. Max Gruner is from the New Mexico Economic Development Department and is participating in this call to answer any questions regarding the loan program. I believe there's also the company that's participating if you have any company related questions. So I'll go ahead and leave it to Max to say any additional.
Are there any questions before we go on, Mr. Gruner? Are there any questions of Ms. Myers? Thank you, Mr. Gruner. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. I yield my time to the company representatives, but if any of the councils have any specific questions regarding the 0% LEDA loan program, please ask me and I'll try to answer them.
Do we have any questions of the councilors? Doesn't appear so. Thank you very much, Ms. Myers and Mr. Gruner.
Madam Chair.
Oh, Councilor Gibson, I'm sorry you didn't have your hand up on your little.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that here's another ordinance, or last one I guess was a resolution that kind of got fast tracked. I don't believe that it went to committee before coming here. I understand it's only state LEDA money, so that's a good thing. It sounds like a fantastic project. But once again, we're just becoming a rubber stamp for these. And I think that, I just think that they deserve better. I think that they deserve and should get more attention by City Council. Thank you.
Councilor Davis, would you like to weigh in on that?
Madam President, I can just respond very quickly. I appreciate it. It hasn't stopped us in the past. I don't mean to be shortcoming, but in this time, this is a state program that we're basically serving as the fiscal agent from. It's it's vetted both by the state's economic development department and by the city through staff. And normally during COVID and pandemic, we've just been double checking that math and bringing it forward to the council to move this money as quickly as possible to our local businesses. And so that's the reason in this case it hasn't gone through those processes, or at least it didn't last year during our emergency procedures. But and I appreciate the councilor's concern. She's absolutely right. We do have to watch out for that. In this case, however, it is a pass through of state funds, and I feel comfortable that that's appropriate for a small minority owned business in our international district.
Councilor Gibson? Nope.
No, that was my stamp, my rubber stamp.
Okay, the administration, would you like to weigh in on that? I guess not. Thank you all for being with the, oh, there's Mr. Rael.
We're good.
Here? No, okay, you're good. All right, thank you all for being with us. And so with that, if there's no further questions or discussion, we will take a vote on this particular item, 048. Crystal.
Councillor Bassan.
Yes.
Councillor Benton.
Yes.
Councillor Davis.
Yes.
Councillor Gibson.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Pena.
Yes.
Councillor Sena.
Yes.
Councillor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0.
Okay, councilors, that passes on an 8-0 vote. We will move on to item R18. Councillor Sena, if you'd like to describe this with a motion also. And then I think we're going to move on to questions. Any questions for Mr. Brennan Williams? Councillor Sena?
Thank you for that, Madam President. R18 is a nuisance substandard dwelling or structure in need of abatement at 5609 Everett Road Northwest 87120, with the city limits of Albuquerque so ruined, damaged, and dilapidated as to be a menace to the public comfort, health, peace, and safety that is required to be removed. I move a due pass. I'd also like Mr. Williams, oh, there he is, ready to speak on this issue.
Madam President, Councillor Sena, thank you. Would you just like a status update at this point, or were there specific questions?
Well, Mr. Williams, I do think we need a second, but I just wanted to know, I know that we've been discussing this property for quite some time, and I know that there was some development.
Sorry, I got called for a question here. So I think I have a second from Councillor Davis. Is that correct, Councillor Davis? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Sena.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Councillor Davis, for that second. But Director Williams, I just know that there was some updates, that there was an understanding that there was a purchase agreement on this property, but there has been some developments in the meantime. So if you could just speak on this and how we can proceed forward. I really do hope that this property is acquired through the process as it was promised the last time we discussed it. So if you can provide any updates as to what has happened.
Madam President, Councillor Sena, yes, ma'am, thank you. You're absolutely correct. The good news is that the property has been sold. The new owner has taken or took possession of the property last week, and they have placed a roll-off dumpster on the property, in the driveway of the property, and they've begun doing some general maintenance. They've cleaned up some of the landscaping and thrown away some of the debris that was in the yard. The bad news, if you will, the not so good news, is that this property still continues to drive emergency calls for service, so calls from specifically from the police department. We've had about 10 of those in the last year. Most recently, there was some activity last week at this property that necessitated the involvement of the police department. So again, the good news is that the property has changed owners, but we're kind of in the preliminary stages of turning this property around. So code enforcement would ask that this matter move forward so that it doesn't expire. They will continue to work with the property owner, and certainly once permits have been pulled and those sorts of inspections have been conducted, and the owner has demonstrated that the house is ready to be moved into, it's livable, then code enforcement wouldn't have any problems with with ceasing or with doing away with their current request for condemnation. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you for that, Director Williams. And just to clarify, because I know that this will expire if we do not act on it today. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. And again, code enforcement is not opposed to having this move forward so that they can still continue to work with the owner. Again, we don't have anything that indicates to us that the new owner won't do what they've told us or what they've shown us that they're going to do. But the house is still in unlivable conditions, and so we would just ask for additional opportunity to continue to work with the owner to make sure that, again, all of the permits and the inspections that are necessary to get this house, back in livable condition, so somebody can reside in it, would be afforded to them, so that, again, they've got an opportunity to work with the owner.
Are there any other questions from counselors? If not, it appears that we have the property owner, Ms. Kennedy. Ms.
Yes.
Kennedy, would you like to weigh in?
Yes, thank you for allowing me to speak. The property, like Mr. Williams stated, I purchased. We have pulled the permits for the gas and for the electricity. We have removed actually 3 containers of debris. And now we have the windows that have been replaced, the front door. We're waiting for the garage. So I believe that we will have this property in livable conditions in the next 3 weeks or so, but we're working diligently in working and getting this property back to normal.
Any questions of Ms. Kennedy? If not, we have a motion and a second. If there's not any other discussion with by our counselors, then we will move on to a vote. Counselor Sena, do you have a question or comment?
Yes, so I think I was just informed that the next meeting will be where it would expire. So because I am hearing that there's a lot of movement from the property owner, and I know that whether we enact this today or not, that the property owner could still work with code enforcement. But I'm going to defer this until the next meeting, just so that we can get another update as to the improvement. And again, I really do hope that we're trying to, through this process, is intervene and say that we want to rehab a building and a space, and that we don't want to have to condemn and demolish it wherever we can. So I'm going to move for a deferral until the 17th and withdraw my move on a motion to pass.
Thank you, Counselor Sena. We have a motion for deferral from Counselor Sena. Is there a second? Counselor Bassan, thank you for that second. So we will move on to our motion for deferral. Crystal, would you like to take that vote?
Yes, Madam President. Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Counselor Benton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Gibson.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0 on the deferral.
Thank you, counselors. That motion passes on an 8-0. So we will revisit this item on the 17th. Thank you, Ms. Kennedy, for appearing before us today.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
So counselors, I am going to just move on through our agenda unless there's a big desire to have a break for dinner a little bit later on. We will just keep moving. Okay, thank you, counselors. So we will move on to item R85. And this is Counselor Pena and Counselor Sena, our sponsors, supplementing priorities for the capital improvement program. And I'm not sure who would like to present.
Either one of us, but I'll go ahead and get started. So R85 is supplementing priorities for the capital implementation program of the city of Albuquerque by implementing a racial equity criteria to be used in the development of the plan. So we actually have a floor sub that I'd like to just go ahead and if there's a motion on for the floor sub, and then we can vote on that. And then we'd actually like to hear Michelle Melendez. She actually said at the last meeting she would do a presentation, and then it's the intention of myself and Councillor Sena to defer the bill.
Okay, Councillor, at our last meeting, Crystal, did we have a motion for this bill and a second? I believe that at our last meeting, there was the original motion. So Councillor Pena, if you'd like to move the floor sub.
That's what I moved, Councillor. Madam President.
Thank you. Is there discussion? Can you put that up, Julian? And then we'll go to Ms. Melendez. Councillor Pena, do you want to describe the floor sub?
So there were some changes based on some of the input that we had received at last meeting. I don't know if you want to add to this, Councillor Sena, but it's just that it says one of the concerns was that we shall, so we kind of made the language to ensure that it was clarifying that it was a tool that was going to be used as we develop the CIP. So under section 1, the city shall implement equity criterion that evaluates historic disinvestment in sub areas of the city with higher populations of people of color to be included as part of the city's overall criteria assessment for capital improvements funding in 2023 and subsequent general obligation bond programs. And the city shall allocate capital improvement funding in a way that prioritizes projects that will help remedy inequities identified by this evaluation criterion. So, I mean, it just really rewords some of the language that we had last time. I don't know if you want to add anything, Councillor Sena.
Madam President, Councillor Pena, not exactly. I did want to just give some opportunity for Mr. Melendez to also speak a little bit, since he was the one that helped draft it along with our Director of Office of Equity and Inclusion. And I know that Ms. Melendez is going to give a presentation in a few, but I just wanted to give the opportunity to Mr. Melendez to speak specifically on the language.
Sure, Madam President, councilors. Essentially, the bill, I think sort of, in my descriptor, streamlines and cleans up some of the recital language. I'm not sure that there's an actual overall change to the recitals, but they've just been made a little bit more compact and I think result in the same type of discussion. However, with respect to the actual bill, I think that at the last meeting and during subsequent discussions, concerns were raised about how the particular criterion that was being developed here would play into the overall assessment of capital improvement projects. And so part of the language change here is to specifically identify that the criterion that's being proposed is part of the overall larger criteria assessment for capital improvement projects within the city, to alleviate any thought or concern that it was going to be the only criteria to be addressed. In addition, in talking with the Office of Equity and Inclusion, in evaluating some of the data that office provided, the language was changed from specifically identifying a racial criterion, but more a criterion that evaluates historic disinvestment in sub-areas of the city, with, consistent with that disinvestment in areas that are predominantly persons of color within the city. And so the criterion changes from strictly a race-based criteria, but to a criteria that evaluates both disinvestment and the demographics of the population within certain areas of the city. And that also clarifies that evaluation criteria is not the only criteria that the city will be using. However, the language does still indicate that that criteria will be used as a tool to help prioritize projects in a way that gets capital funding into areas of the city that have been identified as not having equitable distributions in the past.
Thank you, Mr. Melendres. We have a question from Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Melendres, I haven't had the opportunity to read everything all the way through. I just want to verify that Councilor Borrego's approved amendment for amendment number 3R 2085. We still have the language in this that shall be an objective of the city to prioritize race and income criteria to guide improved race and ethnic equity policies in the development of the capital implementation program in 2023 and subsequent general obligation bond programs, and to prioritize projects in underserved areas and to understand underserved populations within each city council district. Is that still in there, Mr. Melendres?
Madam President, Councillor Jones, part is and part is not. So the component about which capital program cycle it would apply to is incorporated, largely because the clock has been ticking on 2021. However, the language about the specific distribution within council districts is not. So this floor substitute would take the place of the bill in its entirety as it came out of the last meeting, including the amendments. And so by enacting this bill, if there's language here that is missing that you would like to see brought in, then that would need to be brought in through an additional amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Melendres. And councilors, I think it's essential. I think it's rather disingenuous to think that this can only be in specific areas of the city when we all have underserved areas and underserved populations within each city council district. I think it's rather foolhardy of us to think we can put an entire CIP in 2 or 3 districts in the city when we are all paying taxes and all trying to take care of our citizens. So as long as this reads like this, I cannot support it, and I hope that none of the rest of us will either. We need to put that language back in. Underserved areas and to understand populations within each city council district, understanding that there will probably be far more money going into more districts that have far more needs. But we cannot classify this only to certain areas of the city because we all have needs. Thank you.
Madam President, if I can jump in and ask Mr. Melendres to clarify, because it does not, the language, according to our interpretation, does not call for it to go to specific council districts. Mr. Melendres?
Councilor Pena,
Yes.
go ahead. Mr. Melendres.
Yeah, Madam President, Councillor Jones and Pena, I think the conversation as it was last time is this, and that it does not specifically say that it will go to only individual council districts within the city with the greatest need based on this criteria. It does not say that. It says that this will be a criteria that is used to evaluate the overall projects with respect to other criteria. However, what it does not say is that it will be distributed to all 9 districts. And so historically, the way that the capital improvements plan has shook out has not necessarily been sort of dividing the pie into 9 and then making allocations within the 9. And so the resolution does not say, that it's going to go into certain districts, but it also doesn't say that it's going to go into all 9. So I think that there's a debate to be had there about what your comfort level is with language that is there or that isn't relative to that issue.
Thank you, Councillor. We have Councillor Jones, Councillor Sena, and Councillor Bassan. And Councillor Pena, did you want to weigh in again? We can't hear you.
apologize. I just wanted to weigh in after what Mr. Melendez stated, is that it doesn't have language in there, but our CIP bill also does not have the language that exactly precisely what he said, is that the entire capital bill actually gets split 9 different ways. And that's where the disparity is, right? So when you're looking at the capital bill and you've looked at it historically, you'll see that there has been a lack of investment or disinvestment in certain areas of the city. And does this bill require it to actually go to those districts? It doesn't, but it creates that tool that it enables us to see those disparities in each one of our districts. So thank you, Madam President.
Okay, so we're going to move on to Councillor Bassan, Councillor Gibson, and then Councillor Sena and Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I think maybe Councillor Pena or maybe someone else, but Ms. Melendez, I think you could probably answer this too, but what is the equity criterion and evaluation criterion that is going to be used to measure this?
Ms. Melendez?
Yes, Madam President and members of the council, I was going to show 3 maps, show the map that we're using right now, show the map that Councillor Pena had in her hand, and then show a map that I would recommend that we use going forward.
Ms. Melendez, do you want to go ahead and do that? Because it may answer some questions for councillors before we go to the councillors.
Sure, let me just get those up on my screen and share them with you. So first of all, I want to thank you and our city council, all of you, for your commitment to equity and to having these challenging conversations, but this is definitely the conversation to be having in our city right now as we are across the nation. So what I wanted to share with you today is the 3 tools that are in the mix right now. One is the existing tool, the OEI Opportunity Index Map, which contains 3 socioeconomic indicators, and those are poverty, unemployment, and education level. And they're combined into a score or indexed, and they're shown on a static map. And the council, or excuse me, the staff see that map. The other map I'll show you is one of your own council district maps created by council staff that shows poverty, race, and ethnicity in data layers. And this map can be used by you all for any number of issues that you want to address. And the third one I'll show you is the US Centers for Disease Control Social Vulnerability Index Map. And that's the one that I'm suggesting that we use for this purpose, and it could be used for other planning purposes as well. The nice thing about this map is it contains 15 different indicators, and it links these key variables in a way that makes it easier for us to see and visualize combinations of social factors that can increase a community's risk. And this data is all updated every other year by the CDC. So all of this began in 2018 when Mayor Keller added underserved neighborhoods to the GEO bond bill that comes before you. And when he did that, he asked the Office of Equity and Inclusion, which was brand new, to develop a tool for DMD and for the staff to use. And so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about that tool. We called it an opportunity index map. And by opportunity, what I was getting at is an area with very low income, high unemployment, and low educational attainment, where the opportunity to make a difference is very high, where your investment would really make a difference. And by indicators, we're talking about specific measures on a concept like poverty. And when those indicators are combined into a set and scored, that's how we get an index. And that's what we'll be looking at today. So this is the opportunity index map that we've provided with census data from 2017. And it shows areas of the city in red that have very, very deep poverty and high unemployment and high levels of people who have not graduated with a high school diploma. And the orange areas as well have a lot of that opportunity. And there are places across town that have those indicators within them. And the way that the staff use that map is on their funding request, they indicate whether the project is located in an area that is high need. And these criteria do not apply to any of the set-asides that exist. So the council district, each of you has a set-aside of $1 million, and these criteria do not apply to that, nor do they apply to the open space, the public art, or the renewable energy set-asides that you dealt with tonight. Now I'm going to switch screens for a moment and show you one of these maps. So if it's working correctly, you see the brown map that Councillor Pena was holding in her hand 2 weeks ago. Is that what you see on your screen? Okay, so this is a layer map that's provided by our own city's GIS mapping department, and it shows poverty, and you can add to that any number of indicators by layers. So I can click on the American Indian population, and then we would get population indicators as well. And you can zoom in to this map and see different parts of the city. I thought I'd hone in on this one that has 45% poverty. So this is a part of our city that's right off of Broadway, pretty far south. And 45% of people in that census tract are living in poverty. And here you have the breakdown of the population. So this information can be at your fingertips at any time, and you can scroll around and use it for different purposes as you wish. I'm just going to get back to my other map. So I'm just double checking. Do you see the social vulnerability index list on your screen? Okay, so the social vulnerability index, it gives a score. It's an overall score on an area's vulnerability. And then it gives sub-scores, like on these topics. Those are 4 themes: socioeconomic status, household composition, and minority status, and language, and then housing type. And so within those, you see the kinds of information you'll get are percentage of people in poverty. The household composition really tells you about people who are very old or very young, and they tend to have more needs, and single parent households. The minority status section gives you the proportion of the population that is people of color, and the proportion that speak English less than well. And then the housing type and transportation section talks about multi-unit structures, you know, the predominance of apartment homes and mobile homes, the level of crowding, and people who go without a vehicle and are not getting around with a vehicle. And so I'd like to show you what the social vulnerability map looks like. You should see a green map, green and blue. Okay, so that's also by council district. And we can zoom in and just take a look at a different area of town. I picked this one because in Diane Gibson's district, because you can see all different social vulnerability exists in this district. So the scoring mechanism, the overall, a 1 is a high vulnerability and 0 is the lowest vulnerability. So in this area of kind of the medium blue, it's got a vulnerability of 0.68. And the way it got there was by looking at these sub-vulnerability categories. So it's got some socioeconomic challenges. It has some household composition challenges, and so it might have some single moms, single parents in there. It's got a little bit of a minority and language challenge going on, And then it must have a lot of apartment complexes, because that's what really boosts up that score, is having a lot of apartment complexes or mobile home parks. The same I found could be true in Councillor Bazan's district right here by Paseo. I know that there's some senior assisted living mobile home complexes that could be bringing up this rate to 0.87 because of those apartment homes and because of the mobile homes, for example. So this map really gives you a lot of detail, and I'm not showing all of it to you, but you can really take a look at what's going on in your district and what the relative vulnerabilities are for any particular population. And the way we would use these, if you were to adopt a new criterion, is we would be adding it to the existing adopted criteria. So on your screen, you should see a list of the existing adopted criteria for GO bond program in the decade plan. So each of the projects that are not part of the set aside are rated by staff, lowest to highest in terms of these criteria. And with your direction, we will develop a new community equity criterion that takes any of those social vulnerability indicators into account, or any subsection of those social vulnerability indicators into account. And so I just wanted to thank you again for taking up this issue and anything that we can do to help.
Are there any questions of Ms. Melendres? It looks like there's a number of questions. We'll go to Councillor Sena, Councillor Gibson, and then Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. My hand was up earlier just so that we ensure that Ms. Melendez gave her presentation, because I think it gets to kind of what we're focusing on with the intentions of this bill. And I just want to, tell the public too, if they're curious of what the process is that there's a staff review, then it goes to a CIP review committee, then it goes to EPC, then it goes to the mayor, then to city council, then to voter approval. So, city council doesn't have the discretion of just saying, wow, after looking at this map, we're going to dedicate all of our funds to this part that Michelle had highlighted. No, it's through this whole process. We go through this review, and kind of as the director of Office of Equity and Inclusion was just showing, like, there's a lot of power in this data. And now seeing that some of these areas require some more investment rather than disinvestment, this is what the our intention of how it's written now. The new language in the floor sub really gets to the heart of thinking this through, thinking as a process. And again, this is just part of a tool in our toolbox, part of the reviewing process. It's not just up to the discretion of City Council. There's an entire review process of our CIP. So I just wanted to note that and really think through of what this data can mean to us. I think it's powerful as decision makers, where we can really think about how we can improve the quality of life of many of our residents, and not thinking and focusing particularly into one council district or versus another. It's really looking at this, utilizing this data, because I think this knowledge is very powerful for us, how we invest our money in the future. So that's what my most important urging comment was, is really making sure that Ms. Melendez was able to present, because I think that that's really is what is driving the intention of this floor sub.
Thank you, Councillor Sena. We will move on to Councillor Davis and then Councillor Jones.
I'll be quick. I'll just say thank you, Ms. Melendez. I appreciate it very much. I do think this is, I support the legislation. I think we can do this, and I think we can do this in-house. I think we should continue this process to figure out what those metrics are and how they adjust. So I I appreciate very much. We've been using a similar GIS model looking at housing and homelessness for a little while around the Homeless Advisory Council. I think we have a lot of that data already in the city, and I look forward to using it. So I'm glad the sponsors are bringing us this amendment. I'm glad we're going to defer it to continue the conversation, but it's one that we should continue to work on. And I'm excited that our city staff who do this work every day and often don't get recognized for it, I think are going to get to shine a little bit in the way they can bring us those data and tell those stories. So thank you, Madam President, for making time, and thanks to the sponsors for giving time for the conversation.
Thank you, Councilor Davis. Councilor Jones and then Councilor Bassan.
Thank you, Madam President. And Ms. Melendez, question. Can you overlay actual capital assets on the maps? As in community centers, senior centers, parks? Can you overlay that for us?
Yes, absolutely.
Would you, please?
Oh, I can't do it right this instant, sorry. But yes, it can be done.
Would you do that? Please make sure that you have that, Madam President, when this comes before the council again.
And what indicators, what would you like to see mapped?
I would like to see the community centers, senior centers, libraries, parks. And also, can you determine road condition or infrastructure condition in any way with this mapping?
That would be tougher because what they're doing is GIS mapping, and so we need an address to be able to place something on the map. It's possible that the Department of Municipal Development could add something about street conditions, but I myself, in my race equity data analyst, couldn't map street conditions.
But you
we can map anything with an address.
Okay, well, let's go a little further then. Let's do senior centers, community centers, libraries, parks. Am I missing anything else, councilors? Let's see.
Councilor, I believe that they would be able to graph the infrastructure.
I think so.
I think that can be graphed. It may not be able to have that on a map, but I think it can be graphed.
And also swimming pools. Should be able to have it on a map because you have addresses, correct? Ms. Melendez?
Correct. Anything with an address.
Okay, and swimming pools.
It's Candace, creator of Confidence with QuickBooks, and in today's QuickBooks tips and tricks.
Sorry, but some please,
Madam President,
mute themselves.
Madam President.
Councilor Gibson, hang on a second. Councilor Jones, are you through?
One more, please. Ms. Melendez, I'm going to let you earn your salary now. Also, sports facilities, public sports facilities, you know, like baseball, softball courts, tennis, sports facilities, because that's an important part of our community, and we want to make sure we have those where we have those, if they're the right places.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Gibson, was your comment related to Councilor Jones? Because we have Councilor Bassan waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to know if it would be helpful also to map public safety, fire, any police stations. Would you like to see that added? That might be helpful.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Libraries.
Thank you, Councilor Jones, if you're done.
I am. Thank you, Madam President, for your indulgence. Thank you.
We will move to Councilor Bassan.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Melendez, did you say that the social vulnerability, that map or that metric would replace the opportunity index, or did you say that they're going to be worked together?
My suggestion is that it replace, or any subsection of the social vulnerability map could be used in place of the opportunity index. They come from the same sources. It's census data, but the social vulnerability map is just a little bit more comprehensive.
Thank you. And then, Madam President, I have just one more comment, if I may. Just earlier, going with what Mr. Melendez was saying on some of the clarifying, I guess, verbiage with what is written. And I believe that what I heard was, it's up to us what our comfort level is on what is written and what is not written and what's just implied or intended in legislation. And I struggle with what is written or not written with this legislation. So, I'm grateful for the opportunity to see more of the metric that would be used. I think we're getting closer to an answer, but I hope that in another week or 2 weeks, I guess, when we hear and do this finally, then it'll have some, not so much of a gray area for interpretation, because when we're talking about legislation, we need to not be wiggling with what we're voting on. We need to be able to be clear with it.
Any other questions of counselors? I had a question, Ms. Melendez with the DEZ and as opposed to Mr. Melendrez with the DREZ. I had a question about poverty as one of the indicators. I didn't see that anywhere in the, and I know that I guess, is it inferred as?
No, it's very much, it's the first indicator.
Okay, is it the first indicator on that chart that you showed us earlier?
Mm-hmm.
So that is one of the indexes?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I didn't see that, so I just wanted to double check. Okay, so if there are no other questions of the staff, then we'll go back to the counselors and see if there's any other discussion. And if not, then we would move back to the floor substitute. And I believe that there's a motion and a second on the floor. So Councilor Pena, did you want to close, or Councilor Sena?
I think we can both close. Just real quickly, we're asking for a deferral. I think this is really good discussion. I just really want to thank Michelle Melendez and Mr. Chris Melendez for all their help and helping us to kind of put all our thoughts on paper. I really appreciate, and I appreciate the work that Michelle does at OEI. I think just basically, this is just a conversation to be had. I know Councilor Borrego, you had indicated that, that maybe some of what was discussed last time inferred certain things, but this is really not about anyone on this council. This is just about historically what's happened in communities of need. And I think this discussion is absolutely the way to move forward, as was shown by the maps that were presented earlier. These are issues in each one of our council districts. This legislation does not allocate any resources to a particular district. Again, it just provides a tool, and I look forward to those maps that Councilor Jones spoke about. We actually, myself and Councilor Sena, have requested them, and you will see that there's really great disparity in some neighborhoods over others, and even in some council districts, because I'm sure Councilor Benton's thinking about his community centers that he talked about, but really, the amount of community centers in one particular district, if the need calls for that amount of community asset in a community, that's where we need to put the resources. So with that, I won't go on. I'll just ask for the deferral, and Councilor Sena, if you want to close as well.
Councilor Sena?
Thank you for that, Madam President, and thank you, Councilor Pena, for that as well. I just wanted to add, we've been working on this with our with DMD. Sorry, that's my dog. With DMD as well, and just really appreciate all the departments for getting together and talking this through. And our community members too. I know that we've been kind of talking about this resolution for a while, and I'm grateful that we had this discussion during this deferral time just to work out the language. So I know, again, we're going to vote on this floor sub so that it's heard at the next council meeting, and we'll be presented some of those maps. So I urge your support.
Okay, Counselor Sena and Counselor Pena, it appears to me, and correct me if I'm incorrect, that we are going to vote on the floor sub tonight, and then we are going to have another motion for deferral to discuss it at our next council meeting. Is that your intent? Okay, so we will take a vote on the floor sub. Crystal? There's a motion and a second.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Counselor Benton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Gibson.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Jones.
No.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Borrego.
Yes.
Passes on a 7-1 vote for the floor sub.
So that passes on a 7-1 vote for the floor sub. So now we will go back to a motion for deferral. Counselor Pena or Counselor Sena?
I heard your support.
Counselor Sena?
I was going to move for deferral as substituted to the February 17th meeting.
A second? I need a second, counselors.
Oh, sorry.
Counselor Davis? Thank you for that second. All right, so if there's no further discussion, we will move on to our motion for deferral to the February 17th meeting. Crystal?
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Counselor Benton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Gibson.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0, that matter is deferred as substituted.
Thank you, Crystal. That motion passes to defer this to the February 17th meeting. And we would request the maps that were requested by Counselor Jones. And with that, we will move on to item G, which is Counselor Bassan and Jones, R123, setting policy for interim appointments of the Albuquerque Police Chiefs.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to move R123, setting policy for interim appointments of Albuquerque Police Chiefs. We do have a floor sub.
Counselors, that floor sub should be in your iPads. Would one of you like to discuss this? Counselor Jones?
No, I was simply seconding her motion.
Okay, Counselor Bassan, that was a second. Counselor Bassan, would you like to discuss this?
Yes, so the floor sub that we would like to move tonight, we've been working with the administration and, with Samantha Holtz and having a few meetings with Chris Melendrez and some others that we're trying to come to a good middle ground on finding a way to make sure that there's a policy set up so that if in the event the chief of police becomes incapacitated or is unavailable for a long-term, that's not without some kind of notice, that their APD has a policy that they created, which we have found out they did not have before. And then there's the second part and third part is saying that while there is a search going on for an interim appointment of a police chief, if the interim exceeds 45 days and then 135 days, that executive communication comes down from the administration, just acknowledging and informing the council as to a little bit more specific what's happening throughout the search process. I do think that right now the administration has been confirming and giving us this information more, and I realize that this is not necessarily regarding the process that is currently underway, but it's one of those that upon learning more and seeing how things were happening before, and that the policies that we didn't have in place, instead of not having them in the future, now is the time to kind of work out those wrinkles and make sure that the policy is there. So that makes sense, if that's clear as mud for all of you, but we would like to move this floor sub and get it passed so that way we can actually hear it at the next meeting, because it is going to be introduced this year.
Thank you, Counselor Bassan. Any other counselors want to weigh in on this? There's not. Counselor Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say this has been a very well thought out, and a lot of people have helped us get to the language in here. It's one of those things that needs to be put in writing, how things are supposed to be done. And if we don't agree with them, then we need to have an opportunity as a full council to amend these and put in other things. But I think it's one of those things that can't just be left to chance on how something of this importance, great importance, is taken care of. So thank you, Councilor Bassan, for taking this lead on this and doing such a great job. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor Jones. We have a motion and a second to move floor sub R123. Crystal, would you like to take that note?
Yes, Madam President. Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Counselor Benton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Gibson.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0 on the floor sub.
Thank you, counselors. That motion for the floor sub passes on an 8-0 vote. We will move on to our motion for deferral. We have a motion and a second. We need a motion and a second.
So moved, Madam President.
Counselor Bassan, thank you for that motion. We need a second, and I have Counselor Jones and Counselor Sena. So, and if there's no further discussion, we will take that vote.
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Counselor Benton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Gibson.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Borrego.
Yes.
8-0 on R123 as substituted. Postponed to February 17th. Excuse me.
That motion as substituted has been deferred to February 17th. So with that, we will move on to item H, which is Counselor Davis, R125, establishing permanent funding from the Transportation Infrastructure Tax for the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program. Counselor Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If Mr. Minicucci's in the waiting room, I'm going to ask him to sort of step up there at bat just a second in case we need him. R125 establishes permanent funding from the Transportation Infrastructure Tax for the Neighborhood NTMP program, voiding Section 3 of Resolution R2047. I move a do pass.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Counselor Gibson. Counselor Davis.
Thank you. Madam President, we can get into the details here if we need to, but essentially when the council passed the transportation infrastructure tax last year, we neglected to fund the additional position in DMD that would actually do all the work, or at least in a way with permanent funding that would allow us to hire somebody. Mr. Montoya is here if we need him. But essentially, this just cleans that up and allows the administration to have permanent funding to fulfill that position, to do all the work and all our neighborhood projects that we keep asking them to do.
Any questions of the counselors? No questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Crystal, would you like to take that vote?
Counselor Bassan.
Yes.
Counselor Benton.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Gibson.
Counselor Gibson.
Counselor Gibson. Excused. Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Pena.
Yes.
Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Counselor Borrego.
Yes.
Passes on a 7-0 vote.
Thank you, counselors. That motion passes on a 7-0 vote. And being no further business before the City Council this evening, thank you all for joining us and have a nice evening, counselors.